लोग पीएम पर फूलों की वर्षा कर रहे हैं। Modi seeks secure, open state of Hormuz in call with Trump. Message from our President Prime Minister Modi ji on X. Received a call from my friend President Donald Trump. We reviewed the substantial progress achieved in our bilateral cooperation in various sectors. We are committed to further strengthening our comprehensive global strategic partnership in all areas. We also discussed the situation in West Asia and stressed the importance of keeping the Strait of Hormuz open and secure. Talks also cover strong progress in India-US ties from New Delhi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump reviewed the substantial progress in bilateral ties during a phone call on Thursday with US envoy Sergio Mar, saying the two sides are expected to seal certain big ticket deals soon, including in the energy sector. From President Modi said he received a call from President Trump and they discussed the situation in West Asia and stressed the importance of keeping the Strait of Hormuz open and secure. In the over 40-minute conversation, the US President updated the Prime Minister on the West Asia situation or told a select group of journalists. Received a call from our friend President Donald Trump. We reviewed the substantial progress achieved in our bilateral cooperation in various sectors, Modi said on social media. We are committed to further strengthening our comprehensive global strategic partnership in all areas. We also discussed the situation in West Asia and stressed the importance of keeping the Strait of Hormuz open and secure. He said it was the third phone call between the two leaders this year and the first after the recent peace talks between Iran and the US. They spoke on February 2 to announce progress in a trade deal and on March 24 to discuss the situation in West Asia. The call ended with Trump telling PM Modi that I just want you to know we all love you, according to Ambassador Gore. The envoy shared some big ticket deals, including on energy, are expected to be sealed between India and the USA in the next few days and weeks. However, he refused to elaborate on the deals. The call between the two leaders came 2 days after Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri wrapped up his three-day visit to Washington, D.C. The two countries have been working to stabilize their ties after a spell of uncertainty and strain. The relations witnessed a major downturn after Washington imposed punitive tariffs on India and President Trump made controversial assertions regarding his role in de-escalating the India-Pakistan military clashes last May. However, both sides made efforts in the last few months to repair ties. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will visit India next month to hold wide-ranging talks with External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and other functionaries of the government. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance had said on Sunday that no agreement had been reached in talks with Iran despite hours of negotiation in Pakistan, and that the discussion had reached a statement. Lok Sabha seats to be increased to 850 to roll out women's quota. Assembly seats will also see increase from New Delhi. Lok Sabha seats will be increased to up to 850 from the current 543 to operationalize the women's reservation law before the 2029 para parliamentary polls following a delimitation exercise to be carried out on the basis of last published census. रोड शो के दौरान पीएम ने बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर को पुष्पांजलि अर्पित की। पीएम ने एमजीआर को भी पुष्पांजलि अर्पित की। पीएम writes to women ahead of Paris session from New Delhi. प्रधानमंत्री मोदी का नागरकोइल में भव्य रोड शो। On the occasion of B.R. Ambedkar's birth anniversary on Tuesday, PM Narendra Modi said that the proposed constitutional amendment related to Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam Women's Reservation Act is guided by the spirit of equality and inclusivity, which the constitution drafted by him emphasized. Our democracy will become stronger and more vibrant if 2029 Lok Sabha elections and various assembly elections that year are held with women's reservation fully in place. The PM said in a letter addressed to women of the country ahead of the 3-day special session of parliament that starts on Tuesday. According to the draft constitution amendment bill, which will be introduced and expected to be passed in the upcoming special sitting of parliament, seats would also be increased in state and union territory assemblies to accommodate 33% reservation for women. The seats reserved for women in Lok Sabha and legislative assemblies shall be allotted by rotation to different constituencies in a state or union territory. The bill circulated among Lok Sabha members said. Besides other provisions, the bill seeks amend Articles 81 of Constitution. It states that the House of the People Lok Sabha shall consist of not more than 815 members chosen by direct election from territorial constituencies in the states and not more than 35 members to represent the union territories chosen in such manner as Parliament may by law provide. NDA sources meanwhile explained that the final number of seats will be determined by the delimitation commission, hence the bill does not specify an exact seat count or a fixed percentage such as 50%. The figure of 850 represents only the upper limit for the total number of Lok Sabha seats. Seats allocation will be based on proportional representation and southern states are likely to benefit under this formula. The 2011 census is being used as the reference point due to more effective population control in southern states. They could see a relative advantage in seat allocation compared to northern states where population growth has been higher. Expressing skepticism, opposition has questioned the principle being planned for delimitation. Punjab Women's Air Scheme resigns from today. Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann on Tuesday announced the rollout of his government's much awaited allowance for women. Central amends BBME rules and Punjab and Haryana's exclusive member rights. No assured slots in key post attack on federalism. Party says from Chandigarh. The centre has notified key amendment to the Bhakra Vyas Management Board Rules 1974. Chaudhary to take oath as Bihar CM today from Patna. Bihar Deputy Chief Minister Samrat Chaudhary will take oath as the new CM of the state on Wednesday. Senior ministers had his statement came after Chaudhary was elected the leader of the NDA Legislative Party on Tuesday. Nitish Kumar, who heads the JD and became a Rajya Sabha MP last week, resigned as the Chief Minister earlier in the day. Chaudhary has been unanimously elected as leader of the NDA Legislative Party. Union Minister Nityanand Rai said after the meeting attended by the all MLAs of the alliance partners, US and Iran may resume talks this week despite port blockade. Negotiating teams from the US and Iran could return to Islamabad this week to resume talks to end the war. Sources said on Tuesday after the collapse of weekend negotiations prompted Washington to impose a blockade on Iranian ports, while the US while the US blockade drew energy rhetoric from Tehran. Signs that diplomatic engagement might continue helped calm oil markets, pushing benchmark prices below $100 on Tuesday, the highest level talks between the two adversaries since the 1979 Islamic Revolution ended in the Pakistani capital without a breakthrough at the weekend, raising doubts over the survival of the 2 week ceasefire that still has a week to run. But a source involved in the talks said on Tuesday both countries could return as early as the end of this week and that a proposal had been shared with Washington and Tehran to resend their delegations. No firm date has been set with the delegation, keeping Friday through Sunday open, a senior Iranian source said. US President Donald Trump said Iran had been in touch on Monday and wanted to make a deal. Dangerous move, said China on US blockade from Beijing. China on Tuesday termed the US blockade of the Strait of Hormuz as a dangerous and irresponsible move and asked Washington and Tehran to honor the ceasefire. Beijing also denied telling Iran military and threatened to hit back if US President Donald Trump hikes tariffs against China on the allegation of helping Tehran. Also, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has arrived in China for an official visit to discuss the US-Iran conflict. His two-day visit comes in the immediate backdrop of President Trump's announcement of the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz in a bid to cripple Iran's oil supplies to China and other countries. The Russian Foreign Ministry earlier said that while in Beijing, Lavrov would hold talks with his Chinese counterpart Wang. Hill states likely to see below normal rainfall to help for assaulting brings sun in Delhi. India's Russian crude imports rise to 5.30 billion pounds. UP government orders interim hike in minimum wages. CM rolls out women allowance scheme initially for 9 constituencies to be expanded next month from Chandigarh. Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann on Tuesday announced the rollout of his government's much awaited allowance for women Mama Tiya Satkar Yojana with registration set to kick off on Wednesday and payments in July. The announcement came during a state level function in Adhampur, Jalandhar district to mark the birth anniversary of Dr. B. R. Ambedkar. At the event, the CM also handed over registration certificates to three women beneficiaries, including Harbans Kaur, Diksha, and Simran. Mann called the scheme a true tribute to Ambedkar's vision to social justice and equality. The scheme offers monthly financial assistance of rupees 1000 to women from the general category and rupees 1500 to those from scheduled caste. Registration will begin in 9 constituencies on pilot basis from Wednesday and expand across the remaining 108 constituencies from May 15. The Chief Minister said there was no deadline for registration. The 9 constituencies where the registration will start from Wednesday include Adhampur, Malot, Anandpur Sahib, Darbar, Sunam, Moga, Kotkapura, Batala, Patiala, Rural, Manshed, 26,000 registration centers and dedicated Mahila Satkar Sakis in every village and ward would provide door-to-door assistance, help beneficiaries complete documentation for registration and availing the benefit of the scheme. Man called the scheme one of the most expensive direct financial support initiatives for women in the country. A sum of rupees 9300 crore has been sanctioned for the scheme in the 26-27 state budget. This scheme adopts a near universal eligibility framework covering all women aged 18 years and above, subject only to limited exclusion criteria. The scheme is therefore expected to benefit more than 97% of the women, making it one of the most comprehensive women-centric social protection initiatives in the country, the CM said. Once a delayed registration would not affect benefits, he said even those women who were registered at the end of September will get full payment for July, August, and September. For registration, only three documents are required: Aadhaar with Punjab address, voter ID from Punjab, and a bank passbook in the case of Supreme Court women. An SC certificate is also required, Ma'am said. I know many of my SC sisters and mothers don't have a certificate, but they don't have to worry and just apply for their certificate. Under the scheme, he said the Supreme Court women can register without the Supreme Court certificates and start getting rupees 1000 per month. Initially, the CM said the state government will pay them the rupees 500 per month from July onwards once they submit the SC certificate. To ensure that women face no hassle in traveling for registrations, Punjab government will be allowing registration at more than 26,000 allocations, including all Anganwadi centers, Seva Kendra in all municipal corporation or committee officials in urban areas, the CM added. BBMB rule charge under fire, states' rights hit state leaders. On Chandigarh, AAP failed to fill BBMB post, Jakhar says. Punjab BJP President Sunil Jakhar on Tuesday accused the AAP-led state government of failing to fill its share of posts in the Bhakra Vyas Management Board, alleging administrative lapses amid ongoing disputes over the body. Speaking in Jalandhar, Jakhar claimed there were 1,780 vacant posts under Punjab's quota in BBMB, while the state government keeps creating disputes over BBMB matters. It has failed to fill its own share of position, he said. The centre's amendment to Bhakra Vyas Management Board rules allowing members from outside Punjab and Haryana to occupy key posts triggered by political storm on Tuesday, with Punjab ministers terming it a direct attack on federal structure and state rights. Delay in Holy City rollout sparks stirs at in Amritsar 4 months after Punjab government notified Amritsar's veiled city as a holy city. Religious and social organizations on Tuesday warned of launching a protest over its non-implementation at a joint meeting. Representatives of several groups, including the Hind organization, discussed plan for a Pakka Morcha to press for enforcement of the notification. Ranjit Singh, president of Samaj Sudhar Sanstha, said the groups would wait till Baisakhi before taking a final call. If there is still no visible action on the ground, we will convene another meeting and formally announce a permanent Morcha. Government should have treated this as top priority. The, nego- the notification issued on December 15, 2025 prohibits the sale and consumption of meat, tobacco and alcohol within the veiled city. While initially hailed as a historic step, it has since led to confusion. Key issues remain unresolved, including whether bringing such items from outside for personal consumption would be allowed. Residents also fear misuse of the rules, saying restrictions could fuel corruption and black market sales. Traders, especially those dealing in meat and fish, say they have received no clarity on relocation. We have not been told where to shift or how the transition will be managed. If our concerns are ignored, we may be left with no option but to seek legal recourse, said Rajendra Kumar, a fish trader from Hall Bazar, with Vaisakhi seen as an informal deadline. Attention is now on state government's next move. Kal Takht Jathedar BJP spur over conversion remarks on Baisakhi from Amritsar. The controversy erupted on Baisakhi after Akal Takht officiating Jathedar Yani Gurdeep Singh Gagra's Garga's dismissed claims of large-scale religious conversions among Sikhs as completely false, drawing sharp criticism from the BJP. Addressing the gathering on Khalsa Sajna Khalsa Sajan Divas, Gargas said the narrative of widespread conversions was misleading. It is incorrect to blame the entire community for the action of a few. The need of the hour is to strengthen teaching and awareness of Sikh principles, he said. He added it to Sikh remain steadfast in faith and urged the community to embrace Khande Bate the Paul and uphold the identity of Sikh and Paul. He also cautioned that those drifting away may be influenced by lack of understanding and imposters promoting superstition. BJP Punjab spokesperson Sarchan Singh accused the Jathedar of downplaying a serious and sensitive issue. He claimed concerns over illegal and non-doctrinal conversions had been raised widely and alleged the remarks diluted the gravity of the matter. Sarchan questioned the increase in Christian population in the state and asked why the Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee had deployed multiple preaching committees if conversions were not a concern. He also questioned who would safeguard the Panth's identity if its leadership did not treat the conversion issue with urgency. प्रदेशवासियों को 79 में हिमाचल दिवस की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं। सुदृढ़ ग्रामीण अर्थव्यवस्था हिमाचल प्रदेश दूध का न्यूनतम समर्थन मूल्य एमएसपी देने वाला पहला राज्य है। गाय के दूध पर समर्थन मूल्य 61 रुपए और भैंस के दूध पर 71 रुपए प्रति लीटर। प्राकृतिक रूप से उगाए गए गेहूं का एमएसपी 80 रुपए, मक्की का 50 रुपए और कच्ची हल्दी का 150 रुपए प्रति किलो। पांगी घाटी के किसानों द्वारा प्राकृतिक रूप से उगाए गए जौ का एमएसपी 80 रुपए प्रति किलो, अदरक के लिए 30 रुपए प्रति किलो एमएसपी तय। दूध उत्पादकों को प्रति माह मिल रहा 34 करोड़ रुपए का लाभ। एक वर्ष के भीतर दूध खरीद हुई दोगुनी 2.70 लाख लीटर प्रतिदिन। शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में गुणात्मक सुधार 151 सरकारी स्कूलों में सीबीएसई पाठ्यक्रम शुरू। छात्र नामांकन में उल्लेखनीय वृद्धि 99.30% साक्षरता दर के साथ हिमाचल प्रदेश पूर्ण साक्षर राज्य बना। वंचित वर्गों को सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकता। मुख्यमंत्री सुख आश्रय योजना ने 6000 अनाथ बच्चों के जीवन में भरे उम्मीदों के रंग। चिल्ड्रन ऑफ द स्टेट को विभिन्न सुविधाएं प्रदान करने पर लगभग 86 करोड़ रुपए व्यय। 100% दिव्यांगजनों को अब प्रति माह 3000 रुपए पेंशन। विश्व स्तरीय स्वास्थ्य सेवाएं। एम्स चमियाना मेडिकल कॉलेज टांडा, आईजीएमसी शिमला और नैपचेक मेडिकल कॉलेज में रोबोटिक सर्जरी शुरू। आईजीएमसी शिमला में पेट स्कैन और अत्याधुनिक 3 टेस्ला मैार मशीन स्थापित। मछुआरों को सम्मान। मछुआरों को 3500 रुपए प्रति वर्ष की एक मुश्त सम्मान निधि। जलाशयों से प्राप्त मछलियों का एमएसपी 100 रुपए प्रति किलो और रॉयल्टी घटाकर 1%। 6000 से अधिक जलाशय मछुआरों को सीधा लाभ। Court convicts men for rape on pretext of marriage. From New Delhi, a Delhi court has convicted a man for repeatedly raping a woman after luring her into a relationship with a false assurance of marriage, saying that the assurance was false and driven by clandestine motives to satisfy his lust. Additional Sessions Judge Kapil Kumar was hearing a case against Mohit Rajpal, who was accused of having physical relation with a woman on the pretext of marriage, and said that such consent cannot be considered legally valid. In an order dated April 19, the court said it is proved that the promise of marriage extended by the accused to prosecutrix was a false promise to marriage and made with clandestine motives to satisfy his lust without having any intention to honor the same since inception. The court noted that the promise was dishonest from the outset and was used as a tool to obtain her consent. According to the prosecution, the accused established physical relations with the woman from 2016 to 2018 by falsely assuring her her of marriage. A case was registered against the accused under IPC section 376-2 aggravated rape, 377 unnatural offences, 313 carrying miscarriage without consent, and 506 criminal intimidation. The false promise to marriage extended by the accused was the sole reason for the prosecutrix to consent to repeated physical relations with the accused, the judge said. The survivor had alleged that the accused also subjected her to forced sexual acts, coerced her into terminating a pregnancy, and threatened her with dire consequences if she took legal action. After resigning, Nitish assured full guidance held to new government from Patna. Rajya Sabha MP and Janata Dal United Chief Nitish Kumar tendered his resignation as the Bihar Chief Minister to the Governor. Lieutenant General Shahid Atta Saina retired on Tuesday, making the end of his all two-decade-long career as the CM. Following Kumar's resignation, Samrat Chaudhary was elected as the leader of the BJP legislative party in Bihar, paving the way for his elevation. The post on X, the post on X Kumar said that he resigned following the cabinet meeting held earlier today. He extended his full cooperation and guidance to the new government, expressing confidence that a lot of very good work will be done. We have done a lot of work for the people of Bihar for so many days. We have continuously served the people. We had decided that we would now leave the post of Chief Minister, and therefore, after today's cabinet meeting, we met the Honorable Governor and submitted our resignation to him. Now the new government will look after the work here. The new government will have my full cooperation and guidance. Even ahead, a lot of very good work will be done, and Bihar will advance a great deal, he wrote in the post. The outgoing CM reflected on the NDA's developmental efforts in the state since as serving government in 2005, stating that work has been done for everyone and in every sector. You know that on 24 November 2005, the NDA government was formed in the state for the first time. Since then, the rule of law has prevailed in the state and we have been continuously engaged in development work. The government has worked for the development of all sections of society from the very beginning, whether Hindus, Muslims, upper caste, backward classes, extremely backward classes, Dalits or Mahadalits. Work has been done for everyone. Work has been done in every sector, whether in education, health, road, electricity, or agriculture. A lot of work has also been done for women and youth, he wrote. Kumar further attributed the progress of Bihar to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, exuding confidence that the state will develop faster and join the top states of the country. Man stabs mom to death after she refuses money for alcohol held from Thane. Women reservation bill lead of R. Shah says from New Delhi. Turning the women reservation bill, the need of the hour. Union Home Minister Amit Shah on Tuesday said everyone should support the historic move, a change that should certainly take place for the better without delay. In a post on X, Shah said Women's Reservation Bill is the need of the hour. This is the rightful due of our Nari Shakti to contribute to policy making and empower the nation. The Modi government resolved to bring and implement this legislation. This is a change that should certainly take place for the better without delay. I hope everyone will step forward and support this historic move, he said. Parliament passed the Nari Shakti Bandhan Adhiniyam, commonly known as the Women's Reservation Act, in September 2023, marking a significant step towards enhancing women's representation in legislative bodies. The Act provides for the reservation of one-third of the seats in Lok Sabha and state assemblies for women. The amendments to the Women's Reservation Act, when passed, will ensure an increase in the number of Lok Sabha seats to 1816, of which 273 will be reserved for women. Norwegian for to supply 18 water jet systems to Indian Navy. Water jets draw water in accelerated and ejected at high speed, delivering superior high speed performance, rapid acceleration, exceptional maneuverability, and reduced draft, which is perfect for shallow waters and better survivability. Finally, Norwegian company Kongsberg Maritime has been awarded a key contract to supply 18 large advanced Kameva water jet propulsion system for the Indian Navy's next generation missile vessel program. Nitish's panel, a legacy of department to political flip-flops. JDU chief who served as Bihar CM for over 2 decades had Delhi as RS member from Patna. Like all political leaders of considerable stature, Nitish Kumar, who resigned as Bihar Chief Minister on Tuesday, leaves behind a mixed legacy even though the JDU president may have loved to be remembered solely as the architect of modern Bihar who ensured development with justice. न्याय के साथ विकास is a slogan popularized by Kumar, now a Rajya Sabha MP who had always been dependent upon the BJP for staying in power but remained intent on underscoring his commitment to social justice and communal harmony. Critics may, however, reveal in pointing out that the product of Mandal agitation was handing over the state to the BJP is in the only Hindi heartland state where the Saffron Party had so far not been able to head a government. Nonetheless, the 75-year-old has many achievements to his credit, some of which date back to his stint as a union minister in the cabinet of late Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who is said to have counted on Kumar as one of his most competent cabinet colleagues. Vajpayee played an instrumental role in projecting him as the face of NDA, while the BJP-led coalition was trying to upstage the formidable RJD headed by Lalu Prasad from Bihar. Remembered as one of the best parliamentarians of his time, Kumar is said to have taken a keen interest in the modernization of railways while he held the crucial portfolio. Upon taking over as the chief minister in 2005, the proud Bihari set himself the task of transforming his home state's image of a lawless basket case and his first 5 years in power are acknowledged by even his most vehement critics as having brought a whiff of fresh air. A hard-nosed politician, Kumar had no qualms in rubbing shoulders with mafia dons like Anant Kumar Singh, man stabbed mom to death after she refuses money for alcohol held from Thane. Trump's, Trump's $10 billion defamation case against WSG scrapped. WSG scrapped. Federal judge on Monday dismissed President Trump's $10 billion defamation lawsuit against Wall Street Journal, a setback for his legal campaign against media firms he accuses of treating him unfairly. The case was one of the several that Trump, a Republican, has filed during his presidency against major media outlets over reporting he has characterized as unfair or false that has led to concern among Democrats and press freedom advocates that he is seeking to use defamation cases to quell critical coverage. Trump's lawsuit, said the report, Murdoch on News Snapper tarnished his reputation with an article describing a birthday card to deceased sex offender Jeffrey Epstein bearing Trump's signature. Trump said the card is fake even after it was released by lawmakers investigating Epstein's case. Trump filed the lawsuit in July 2025. Nepal Prime Minister lists YouTube, TikTok, Spotify as top income sources from Vishant Agrawala. Nepal PM Blendra Brain Shah has declared YouTube, TikTok, Spotify, Facebook, and iTunes among the main sources of his income, making for an unusual disclosure in which the country's top leader linked a substantial part of his wealth to digital content and streaming revenue. Shah, 35, entered high official after a public career that cut across music, engineering, and politics, and urban ousted had Orban ousted as Hungary Prime Minister after 16 years in office from Budapest. Hungarian voters on Sunday ousted long-serving PM Viktor Orban after 16 years in office, rejecting the authoritarian policies and global far-right movement that he embodied in favor of pro-European challenger in a bombshell election result with global repercussions. She called for closer ties with Spain in face of global chaos from Beijing. Australia appoints women to lead its army for the first time in 125-year-old history. Lieutenant General Susan Coyle enlisted in the military in 1987 and has held a number of senior roles. She will be the first woman to lead any service branch of Australia military. From Sydney, Australia on Monday said a woman would lead its army for the first time in history as part of a reshuffle of the country's defense force leaders. Companies, country's defense force leadership. Lieutenant General Susan Coyle, the current chief of joint capabilities, will become chief of army in July. Comment said Coyle will replace Lieutenant General Simon Stewart. Carney secures majority government after three special poll wins from Toronto. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney returns to Parliament on Tuesday with more power after he secured a majority government by sweeping three special elections. Carney's Liberals now have 174 of the 343 seats in the House of Commons and wouldn't need support from opposition parties to pass legislation after winning three districts that became vacant after last year's election. Carney's government is the first in Canada's history to switch from a minority to a majority between national elections. The Liberal Party could stay in power until 2029 after Monday's results. Voters have placed their trust in our new government's plan. We accept that support with humility, determination, and a clear understanding of what this moment demands, Carney shared in a post on social media. Carney won Canada's election last year, fueled by public anger over US President Donald Trump's election threats, and he has vowed to reduce Canada's reliance on the US. Since then, five defections from opposition parties, including four from the main opposition Conservative Party, put Carney's Liberals on the cusp of the majority. One of those defectors referenced Carney's speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, as helping in his decisions. In that speech, Carney condemned economic caution by great powers against smaller countries and received widespread praise for his remarks. Carney, the former head of the Bank of England, as well as Canada's central bank, has moved the Liberals to the centre right since replacing Justin Trudeau as Prime Minister in 2025. In Toronto, Danielle Martin won the election for the district of University Rosedale, and Dolly Brigham won the district of Scarborough Southwest. Meanwhile, Tina August won the Terrebonne district north of Montreal. Nelson Weisman, professor emeritus at the University of Toronto, said Trump has been a major factor in Carney's rise to Prime Minister, but his performance on the world stage has only added to his popularity. Canadians liked seeing how well he was received at Davos and have been impressed by his travels abroad, Weissman said. Airlines urge EU to step in as Iran war stops jet fuel supply from Brussels. European airlines have asked the European Union to step in with emergency measures to tackle repercussions from the Iran war, including widespread airspace closures and mounting concerns over jet fuel shortages. A document seen by Reuters showed industry group airlines for Europe has been requested that the EU introduce a raft of crisis response measures, including EU level monitoring of jet fuel supplies, a temporary suspension of the EU's carbon market for aviation, and scrapping certain aviation taxes, it said in the document. Oil demand to plunge as mid East's uncertainty persists, IEA warns from Paris. Demand for crude oil will likely decline this year for the first time since the COVID pandemic slammed the global economy 6 years ago. Weighted down by Mid-East war disruptions, the IEA warned Tuesday. Surging prices caused by the Strait of Hormuz closure and damage to production facilities will force countries and industries to curtail oil use, and demand destruction will spread as scarcity and high prices persist. the International Energy Agency said in its monthly report. It noted that its forecast assume a base case of oil shipments resuming in May through Hormuz, which Tehran had effectively closed since the US and Israel began bombing Iran on February 28. This would lead to a decline in demand of 1.5 million barrels per day in the second quarter, the sharpest since COVID-19 slashed fuel consumption. The agency said overall demand is forecast would have contracted by 1,800,000 bpd in March and is seen dropping by 2.3 billion bpd in April. But a protracted case, if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, would lead to persistently high prices that crimp demand by an even higher average of 5 million bpd through the rest of this year. In this case, energy markets and economies around the world need to brace for significant disruptions in the months to come. The agency warned global oil use is expected to fall over 2026 as a whole as a result of the Hormuz closure and the destruction of energy infrastructure across the Gulf from retaliatory Iranian attacks. Israel, Lebanon set for US talks to defuse war with Hezbollah. Lebanon is set to begin US hostage negotiations with Israel in an effort to cause a war with Hezbollah that's wreaking havoc in the country. While they will mark the first direct talks between the two Middle Eastern countries in more than 3 decades, few officials expect an immediate positive outcome. A sustained war in Lebanon risks undermining US President Donald Trump's attempt to wind down a parallel conflict with Iran, the main censor of Hezbollah that sent oil and other energy prices soaring. Trump said he called Netanyahu after the strikes and that the Israeli leader agreed to de-escalate the offensive. US sanctioned tanker test blockade with Hormuz exit. Rich Sterry was blacklisted in 2023 for helping Tehran. House sanctioned tanker linked to China sailed out of the Strait of Hormuz and into the Gulf of Oman, testing President Donald Trump's naval blockade. Rich Sterry, a medium-range tanker earlier known as Full Star, was blacklisted by Washington in 2023 for helping Tehran evade energy sanctions. It is not clear on this occasion whether it visited Iranian ports before its transit or is carrying cargo. The exit is a second attempt for the carrier, which began first as the US blockade came into effect on Monday, only to turn back. It then restarted hours later and appeared to turn the bend into the eastern side of Hormuz on Tuesday. Shipowners, energy traders, and investors across financial markets have been keenly following its route through Hormuz as a try to understand the latest US effort to pressure Tehran and curb its oil revenues and how it will work in practice. The real issue is not simply whether ships can pass through Hormuz, but what spectrum of enforcement opposition US warships apply and where they choose to apply them, said Charlie Browning, an advisor to United Against Nuclear Iran, a US lobby and pressure group focused on Tehran. Rich Sterry initially transmitted that it had a Chinese owner and crew, a common safety mechanism for ships crossing the strait during the current conflict in the Persian Gulf and one that could test Washington's resolve to challenge vessels tied to the world's largest oil importer. The tanker has now ceased to indicating the Omani port of Sohar as its destination according to ship tracking data. Throughout the crossing, the tanker's location signals have not been consistent. Vessels in the area have regularly been impacted by electronic interference, which can produce inaccurate speed and location reports. Another tanker, the Elpis, was in the strait and headed into the Gulf of Oman just as the blockade began. It appears to have stopped out of the narrow waterway and off the Iranian coast. Ship tracking platform Kepler and Vortexa indicate that LPs had docked at an Iranian port in the Gulf before attempting to pass through Hormuz, meaning it would be a potential target for a patrolling US Navy vessel. The ship was sanctioned by the US last year under its former name, Shamton, over its links to the Iranian oil trade. While information about the two tankers' prior movements was unclear, both emitted signals showing they couldn't have been in an Iranian port before 3 p.m. on Monday. That could be important because the US gave a grace period for neutral vessels to leave the Persian Gulf nation facilities, although that only applied to freighters those are sanctioned. Most shipowners reached by Bloomberg across the Middle East and Asia who now face the need to clear both Iranian and US approvals to exit the Persian Gulf said they would pause any effort to make their way through the strait until the workings of the blockade are clear. Trump's blockade has also sparked alarm among Asian nations that rely heavily on Middle Eastern energy and fuel exports. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi has urged global stakeholders to push for peace talks between Tehran and Washington. A spokesman for China's foreign ministry said at a regular press briefing on Tuesday that he was not familiar with specifics of which steering voyage only by ending the war and realizing peace and stability in the Gulf region can be fundamentally uphold safe and unimpeded passage at the Strait of Hormuz. Spokesman Guo Zitagun said any effort to interdict a Chinese vessel would upsettle markets already upended by a historic energy supply crisis. At best, Trump's announcement is paper tiger. At worst, it marks an acceleration. Escalation, said Carlos Casanova, senior Asia economist at Union Bankere Privy in Hong Kong. The rich story has indicated it is sailing under a Malvi flag, but the landlocked African nation has said it has no official registry for ocean going ships. Rich story is owned by Full Star Shipping Limited, which shares the same contact details as Shanghai India's strong fundamentals set to cushion oil shock S&P from New Delhi. India's robust macro economic and financial sector fundamentals are likely to cushion the impact of a sustained oil price shock, though economic growth could slow by up to 80 basis points if crude oil Nvidia rewards 10k India staff payouts up to 1 crore rupees from Bangalore. A majority of Nvidia's 10,000 India-based employees have received CEO Jensen Huang's one-time special stock grant with payouts ranging from rupees over rupees 5 lakh to as much as rupees 1 crore over the grant period. Auto wholesales rise 10% in 25-26 to record 2.8 crore units. The long West Asia war may impact supply chain Siam says from New Delhi. Automobile who Automobile wholesale in India posted a record at 2.8 crore units in final year 26, up 10.4% year on year, with all segments, passenger and commercial vehicles, two and three wheelers recording the highest ever sale in our fiscal, with GST 2.0 providing to be a key growth driver. Society of Indian automobile manufacturers said on Tuesday in 24-25 total domestic vehicle sales stood at 2.6 crore units, Dan said. India INC bets on mid-level talent, report says from Mumbai. Amid concern over attrition, India INC expects hiring to remain paused on mid-level roles, with salary hikes likely to stay moderate around 5 to 10% in 26-7, a report said on Tuesday. Tata Sun stayed in RBI's board investment upper their list from Mumbai. The Reserve Bank of India (RBI) continues to classify Tata Sons as a core investment company in the upper layer, according to its latest NBFC list released on April 10, keeping the Tata Group's holding company within the ambit of potential listing requirements. In final year 24, Tata Sons applied to the RBI to voluntarily surrender its CIP registration and operate as an unregistered CIC following the introduction of rules requiring CICs like Tata Sons to list on stock exchanges in its final year 25 report. The company said the regulator was still examining the application. Market observers said Tata Sons continued appearance in the RBI's upper layer ICC list suggested the request has not been accepted as long as the registration stands. The listing obligation remains, said Binoy Parikh, partner at Catalyst Advisors. He added, the signal is reinforced by the RBI's draft notification, also released on April 10, prescribing a quantitative asset threshold of rupees 1 lakh crore. Tata Sons stand-alone assets stood at rupees 1.75 lakh crore as of March 31, 2025, meaning that even under the proposed framework, it would remain squarely in the upper layer, Parikh said. The drift also brings government on NBFCs into the upper layer under an ownership neutral approach, making it difficult for the regulator to exempt one entity from listing while telling others that ownership is no basis for differential treatment. Parikh said the regulatory architecture is tightening and not loosening. The April 10 RBI list includes 9,075 BFCs registered as of March 31, 26, alongside Tata Sun, several Tata Group entities features on the list. Tata Capital is classified as an upper layer investment and credit company and is already listed. Tata Capital Housing Finance, Tata Industries, Tata Investment Corporation fall in the middle layer, which is not subject to listing requirements. The Tata Group is internally divided on a potential listing. Tata Sons. Noel Tata, chairman of Tata Trust and promoters of Tata Sons, is not in favor of listing the company, while Tata Trust's vice chairman Venu Srinivasan and Vijay Singh support such a move. Kakai, Mantra, and the race hidden in blame. Some names in our epics are spoken with reverence, others are spoken with discomfort. Kakai and Mantra belong to the second category for generations. They have stood in public memory as the two women whose decisions led to Ram's exile, Dashrath's heartbreak, and Ayodhya's sorrow. They are remembered not with affection but with accusation. What if the story is not only about blame, what if it is also about divine design? In life, especially in the age of instant opinion, we are quick to level a people. Hero, villain, supporter, betrayer. One mistake becomes an identity. One act becomes a lifelong verdict. Kakai suffered exactly that fate. She was not merely criticized. She became a symbol of moral failure. Even Bharat, her own son, could not bear the weight of what her demand had caused. But the Ramayana is never shallow. It does not merely describe events, it reveals truth slowly like dawn. Had Kaikeyi not asked for the two boons, would Ram have not gone to the forest? Would the world have witnessed his unwavering dignity? Sita's strength, Lakshman's devotion, Bharat's renunciation, Hanuman's bhakti, and Ravan's downfall. Without exile, would Ram have become not only the prince of Ayodhya but the eternal light of human conduct? This does not mean wrong becomes right. It means that the divine can transform even human error into a pathway for universal good. That is the beauty of Ram. He does not merely defeat evil outside, he redeems confusion inside the human heart. In that sense, Kakai and Mantra are not just characters of a distant age. They represent those moments in our own lives that we resist, resent, and reject. A painful rejection, a broken relationship, an unfair humiliation, a setback that seemed cruel at the time. Later, we often discover that what wounded us also awakened us. The young mind today knows this pain well. Social media magnifies judgment. Failure feels public. Regret feels permanent. Many carry silent guilt for one decision, one weakness, one chapter. They wish they could erase. But your life is greater than your worst moment. Divine grace is not reserved only for the flawless. One of the most moving spiritual truths is that liberation often begins not in pride, but in pain. Dashrath, shattered in separation from Ram, cried out Ram, Ram in helpless longing. That very name became deliverance. The heart that breaks in truth often opens to grace. That is why the old line still carries immortal wisdom. Sitaram, Sitaram, Sitaram कहिए जाहि विधि राखे राम ताहि विधि रहिए. Take the name of Sitaram, live as Ram keeps you. This is not helpless resignation, it is sacred trust. Perhaps we can pause before condemning too quickly others or even ourselves. The one you can call the cause of your pain may unknowingly be part of your awakening. The chapter you call a fall may become the doorway to your inner rise. Ram God is not divided only into the pure and fallen. It is held together by compassion, karam, and grace, and in that grace, even the deeply blamed are not beyond redemption. Straight shooting, Trump unleashes a verbal flank attack on Iran's control of a crucial waterway. Best sign that our trains got safer is fewer headlines. GOI's Railways Minister argues that the past decade has seen clear policy, sustained funding, and modern technology transform the safety ecosystem of Indian Railways. Every morning, as India wakes up, its railways are already in motion. More than 2 crore passengers step into the country's train each day, from office workers, students, and migrant workers to families and soldiers. For many of these passengers, a railway journey is not a choice, but a necessity in a system that carries such volumes across vast distances. Safety is not a technical metric, it is a matter of public trust. Indian Railways, among the world's largest rail networks, runs over 25,000 trains daily, including more than 14,000 passenger services. For decades, public debate centered on expansion, new lines, additional trains, faster connectivity, but scale without safety has consequences. About a decade ago, this reality demanded a reset. During PM Modi's first term, a clear message was delivered. Safety first, and since 2014, Indian Railways has pursued a comprehensive, tech-led, consistently funded transformation of its safety ecosystem. The clearest evidence of our success is the sharp decline in consequential train accidents. In 2014 to 15, Indian Railways recorded 135 such accidents. By 25-26, the figure had fallen to just 16, and 89% reduction achieved even as passenger volumes and train operations increased in this period. The consequential accident index, which measures accidents per unit of train running distance, has dropped from 0.11 to 1, indicating a system far safer for every kilometer run. Globally, railway safety is measured through fatalities or accidents per billion passenger kilometer, allowing comparisons across systems of differing scale. In European Union, widely regarded as a benchmark, the risk of death for a rail passenger is estimated at about 0.09 fatalities per billion passenger kilometers, making rail travel safer than road transport and comparable with aviation. Japan, often cited as the global gold standard, has reduced operational rail accidents to near zero, with most fatalities today linked to trespassing or level crossing rather than train operations. India's story is best understood not through claims of parity but through the pace and intent of change. With consequential accident index now at 0.01, Indian Railways compares favorably with global average for large mixed traffic rail systems tracked by international rail bodies. This has been achieved while operating one of the most complex railway networks in the world. where passenger freight, suburban and express services routinely share the same corridor. International evidence shows that durable safety gains rest on sustained investment, elimination of level crossings, automatic train protection, and a strong safety culture. Of course, what matters most are the lives saved. In 1415, train accidents claimed 292 lives. In 25-6-26, 16 accidents resulted in 16 fatalities, while every loss remains a tragedy. The scale of fatality reduction signals a system increasingly designed to prevent catastrophic failure rather than merely respond to it. This transformation did not happen through internet alone. This transformation did not happen through intent alone. It was backed by financial commitment at an unprecedented scale. Annual safety expenditure has tripled from 39,200 crore rupees in 1314 to about 1.2 lakh crore rupees in 26-27, enabling systematic modernization across tracks, signaling, rolling stock, and safety systems without dilution or delay. Technological adoption has accelerated sharply since 2014. Nearly 4,000 railway stations are now digital compared to fewer than 900 in the earlier decade. GPS-based fault safety devices, critical in low visibility conditions, have increased from just 90 units to nearly 30,000. Track reliability has undergone a quite but fundamental transformation, wider use of 60 kg rails, longer welded rail panels, improved welding techniques, and advanced testing designs have reduced weld failure by 93% and trail fractures by 92%. A landmark achievement has been the complete elimination of all unmanned level crossings, nearly 9,000 in number, supported by the construction of more than 14,000 road overbridges and underpasses. Passenger safety has also improved through the rapid introduction of LHB coaches designed to prevent telescoping during collisions, with production rising more than 20-fold since 2014. Among the most consequential interventions has been Kavanch, India's indigenously developed automatic train protection system, certified to the highest international safety integrity level. Kavach intervenes automatically when signals are missed or speed limits breached. As one local pilot described it, Kavach is a lifeline not only for passengers but for railway families themselves. Now adopted as the national ATP system, Kavach has been commissioned on high-density corridors such as Delhi-Mumbai and Delhi-Howrah with expansion underway. Technology, however, cannot replace human alertness. Recognizing this, Indian Railways has invested in better working conditions for running staff, to air-conditioned running rooms, regulated duty hours, counseling support, and improved rest facilities. Safety today is reinforced not only by system but by people who trust them. Railway safety rarely draws attention when it works. Trains that do not crash, do not make news. Yet this absence of headlines says precisely what truly says, that individuals' life matter. Working solutions. Reasonable minimum wages address one labor market issue. Too few jobs is the bigger problem. UP government moved swiftly and rightly to raise minimum wages in NCR zones, Noida and Ghaziabad. After protest by effective workers in Noida, the protest should have been anticipated. Though since the trigger has Haryana, the trigger was Haryana raising its minimum wages from April 11. That meant higher wages in NCR's Gurgaon and Faridabad. But setting minimum wages is a delicate dance. For instance, the new rate for skilled workers in Noida and Ghaziabad, a little less than 16,900 PM rupees, is still lower than Delhi's about 22,400 rupees PM for skilled workers. Haryana's new skilled workers rate is 1805 18,500 rupees for highly skilled workers. Rain check. Monsoon forecast is green. Economy as a whole may absorb that, but small farmers need help. Those men in Chennai, whether young pavilions, Frenzy or Vijay will translate into words, isn't the point. His rallies are a mirror to TM's masculinity crisis. Crowds is drawing are no crowds he is drawing are proof that male dominated parties just aren't listening. Joseph Vijay is not the first film star to enter Tamil politics. Very likely he wouldn't be the last. What makes Vijay stand out is his ability to draw young crowds to his rallies. People aged 15 to 40. Tamil Nadu stands out nationality across several youth-related indicators, with significant progress in schooling, higher education, gender equality, and youth in salaried employment. Many scholars have attributed these achievements to policies enacted by successive Dravidian governments inspired by ideas from the self-respect movement, who are now watching their young turn away from the parties that built the record and unabashedly voice their support for Vijay. Going by social media videos, young people seem to be in a frenzy, jumping from trees into his vehicle, hanging from cranes, and regularly chasing his convoy, enthralled by their much loved star. The most significant moment in TVK's nascent history would be the frenzy in Koru. His inaugural political rally, which resulted in a stampede and tragic death of 41 people. Interviews with young Vijay fans show their unwavering support for the star and confidence he will become the next CM. Whatever Vijay has mentioned about his party's ideology seems to be an extension of the self-respect movement's policies. He has stated he is against NEET, is keen to move education back from the concurrent list to the state list, and has a flurry of measures planned for youth similar to those the current government has already announced for women. These include announcing free bus travel for women and providing a monthly cash transfer to the female household head. Among others, these are schemes pioneered and materialized by the Dravidian parties, yet they are unable to mobilize the same kind of support from young people. while it remains to be seen if these mass turnouts and adulation translate into votes on April 23 to the 234-seat assembly. Young people are visibly turning up voluntarily to listen to Vijay's speech instead of being incentivized to attend other parties' political rallies, the tacit norm in the state for decades now. This reflects a serious disconnection between youth and the senior leadership of political parties and equality between youth and the state machinery, which continues to approach youth aspirations through a paternalistic lens. Over the last few months, Vijay has been dismissed by political veterans as an inexperienced nubile, a charlatan, and at best an expector that could upset electoral scenarios. But what Vijay has effectively and perhaps inadvertently achieved is to hold a mirror to the gerontocracy, asking the state's dominant and aged male elite to pay attention to youth aspirations. Frenzy over Vijay should primarily be seen as an exercise of agency by young people facing uncertain futures, economic, climatic, cultural, and psychological insecurity. They also have to perform gender and caste roles traditionally defined but rapidly changing. It is reducing it is reductive to dismiss Vijay's pen as people without agency, wooed by a charismatic sinister. Young people in Tamil Nadu's deeply entrenched patriarchal caste and honor driven society have grown up without being able to make claims of the state. Vijay does not necessarily offer an alternative to this problem, but his rallies and speeches are those of a populist quickly using an opportunity presented to him on a platter. Vijay's fan clubs and his rallies are spaces for young people to organically mobilize, assert their presence, and make their voices heard. Moreover, as noted by scholar S. Anandhi, Tamil Nadu is grappling with a masculinity crisis. Older patriarchal ideals are being uprooted by rapid economic change, women's education, and workforce transformation. For instance, Tamil Nadu has around 650,000 women working in industries with female labor force participation rate at 43%, while national average remain at 32%. Male graduate unemployment remains high. Land ownership patterns have changed significantly, and landowners have been the power they command slowly erode. Men who grew up under a relatively stable patriarchal caste and gender order are now confronted with upheaval, producing an anxiety about their status in society. This has been closely linked with increased alcoholism, domestic abuse, and sexual violence. In Tamil Nadu's much talked about higher education sector, gross enrollment ratio of 47% is significantly higher than the national average of 32.5%. Yet many of the institutions do not provide quality education, resulting in graduates credentialized but without jobs. Moreover, Tamil Nadu's colleges and universities have completely hollowed out political discourse. Students aren't allowed to mobilize or organize, and the prevailing attitude in many institutions is to maintain discipline. This is supplemented by the fact that most public and political discourse manifests itself through cinema, and thus conversation is directed in one way through a disciplining paternal lens from above, while an upheaval in the social order is welcome. Young people have had no institution or mechanism to listen to their grievances. Across the world, young people are increasingly getting disillusioned by the gerontocracy that runs the world, exceedingly out of touch with aspirations and realities of young people. It is increasingly evident that the people who flock to Vijay's rallies are disinterested in and disillusioned by the politicking across political lines. This is dangerous, not just because the enormous achievements of the self-respect movement would come undone, but also because the potential of democracy and dialogue in the state is at risk. Political parties would do well to listen closely to youth aspiration, ensure youth representation at all levels, and create strong social, economic, cultural institutions to address the burgeoning masculinity crisis. Leeds break Old Trafford jinx with 2-1 win from Manchester. Leeds United Novas. Okador scored twice as his side grabbed a morale boasting to one Premier League away with our bitter rivals Manchester United, who had Lisandro Martinez sent off in the 56th minute for pulling the hair of Dominic Calvert. Ayush aims for good showing at Worlds. RR undone by weeks of variable Parag says from Hyderabad. Rajasthan Royals captain Riyan Parag said his team's first IPL defeat of the season was caused by a combination of factors, including his usually explosive batters, inability to read the pace of deliveries against Sunrisers Hyderabad here. After an underwhelming display with the ball, it was a real collective failure of Rajasthan's explosive top order comprising Yashvi Jaiswal, Vaibhav Suryavanshi and Dhruv Jurel as SRH handed the Royals 57-run hammering here on Monday. I think it was a mix of everything. I felt we were a little surprised by what the pace of the ball was when it left the hand and now it came off the wicket. Parag said at the post-match press conference. I think Webber expected it a little better, came a little stickier. Same for Dhruv, nipped back in baseball. He hits that 9 out of 10 times and that stop. I got a really full ball. I couldn't hit that. I wouldn't say we were unlucky, but then it was a mix of a lot of variables that came into play. Hence, we couldn't connect those shots. He added Parag, who has taken over the RR captaincy this season, felt the bowlers also came up short in execution despite having the required quality. Initially, I think we were okay, but then in the middle overs, they were 30 runs over for sure. I think we could have found better option. Used the wicket a little bit more, used more slower balls, maybe slower bouncers, wide yorkers or whatever it is. But I think just the execution lacked a bit, nothing about the quality of our bowlers. I don't doubt that at any time he added Parag was full of praise for teenage sensation Suryavanshi, backing the youngster to go a long way. In 10 years' time, he is going to be my age, so I don't know how to look that far ahead. But as far as now is concerned, I hope he is in a really good mental state. just win more games bat as flamboyantly as he has been doing throughout the 4 or 5 games, whatever it is, and win just a little and hopefully he plays for India very soon. Suryavanshi, who made his IPL debut last year, has played 12 matches in the league across 2 seasons. I feel one thing you gain every time you step into a cricket field is experience, and regardless of his age, he might be 15 years old, but he has gained a lot of experience playing last year. From the sidelines, you go gain a little bit of experience. You do understand how the game works, how IPL works, but then him having played 7 games and then keeping that momentum, playing the World Cup under 19 Asia Cups as group, and he scored runs everywhere he's gone. I think he has earned a lot of experience from those games, being in match situation, winning games, scoring a lot of runs, big runs like Daddy Hundreds. Rohit undergoes the skin for suspected injury from Mumbai. Mumbai already reeling after 3 defeats. Mumbai Indians now face an added worry. Rohit Sharma's hamstring injury, which could further derail their IPL 2026 campaign. There is concern that the issue which troubled Rohit in IPL 2020 and during the 26-17 season may have resurfaced at 38. That is far from ideal for the veteran batter. Rohit, accompanied by MI physio Nitin Patel, are undone by mix of variables. Parag Seth from Hyderabad, Lucknow Wadi of RCB Firepower from Bengaluru, Royal Challengers Bengaluru will rely on their fearsome batting unit to fire again as they look to dismantle an inconsistent Lucknow Super Giants and pull clear of the mid-table log jam in their Indian Premier League match here on Wednesday. The Royal Challengers are currently third on the table with 6 points, and 4 other teams are chasing the resigning champions with 4 points each. The Bengaluru outfit a 2 points adrift of leaders Rajasthan Royals and a point behind Punjab Kings. But in reality, no team is in this edition of the IPL has driven fear into the hearts of the bowlers more than RCB. Rajasthan Ayura has been built around Vaibhav Suryavanshi's flashing blade, while Punjab have been more solid than flamboyant, building their legacy around calculated chases. But RCB have fired in unison. They have resembled a battering ram, and it reflects in the strike rates of their top fire. Virat Kohli 162, Phil Salt 138, 178, Rajat Patidar 214, Tim David 221, and Devdutt Padikkar 201 have put all comers to the ringer in IPL 2026. These 5 batters have combined to smash 52 sixes across all games, the most by any team in this IPL, taking range hitting to another level. As a result, they have never scored less than 200 in this IPL so far, an apt reflection of their marauding battling ideology. They will also want to cash in on the home stretch of 3 matches. The LSC match will be followed by fixtures against Delhi Capitals April 18 and Gujarat Titans April 28 before travelling to Raipur for 2 home contests. But will they need their match in the Super Giants bowling attack at the Chinnaswamy. The LSD attack comprising veteran India pacer Mohammad Shami, Princess Yadav and Divesh Lathi has been impressive so far, finding a way to keep the opposition largely under check. Shami's economy of 6.2 is the best in the league among regular bowlers so far. But the trio will need to be on the money every ball against RCB batters on a placid Bengaluru pitch. Despite bowlers coming up with some lion-hearted efforts, LSG find themselves seventh on the table, and that is largely because of the uninspired outings of their batter. The batting lineup led by Rishabh Pant has yet to hit its stride, and the skipper's own form says it all. 103 runs from 4 matches at a strike rate of 130. Other big guns like Michelle Marsh, Alan Markran, Nicholas Puran, and younger names like Ayush Baroni and Abdul Shamil have also gone cold. Atul Chaudhary showed some spark, but he will have to do that more consistently going forward. McGrath had McGrath hand behind hinge rise. Leicester grew under Ashish. Leicester grew under Aussie legends tutelage in Chennai from New Delhi or Bangalore. Prakash Hinge is a proud of Prakash Hinge is a proud father, but there is a former accountant in him who is very measured with his choice of words and expression of exhilaration when it comes to celebrating son Praful's match-winning IPL debut. In fact, the Hinge family didn't even know whether their boy would be playing against Rajasthan Royals on Monday. We knew that he was supposed to play against Punjab as he was in the impact player list. He never asked him if he is playing. He calls every day at 10 p.m. before going off to sleep and just have normal conversation like Khana Khaya, Prakash said, had food. Yesterday, when the IPL telecast started, we saw on TV that he will make his debut, so we were happy. The happiness only grew as the game unfolded. Praful ran through errors in from top order in a stunning opening spell of 2-0-6 which paved the way for SRH's massive win by 57 runs. Prakash, who hailed from Nagpur, recalled the time he enrolled Praful at the local Gymkhana club after observing his son's interest in cricket, which he was around 13 years of age. I played in neighborhood by lanes. My son was interested and I enrolled him in a local academy. Yes, I told him to balance both, but also wanted to give him freedom to choose his own path. Hinge Senior said in a very matter of fact manner. Once Praful made it to the Vidarbha under 16 side, there was no looking back. I'm not a pushy father. Once Vidarbha Cricket Association took note of my son, I trusted them. It was former Indian pacer Prashant Vaidya who saw a spark in Praful and suggested that he should be sent to the Marag Pace Foundation in Chennai. Prashant Vaidya sir, former India bowler who was with VCS suggested that Rahul should go and train at MRF Pace Academy under expert technical coaches Prakash recalled. But at that time, a lower back stress injury threatened to derail his career. However, under MRF, Pace Foundation coach M. Senthil Nathan and Varun Aaron, who is now the bowling coach of SRH, Rahul became sharper and also did well with under 23 and senior with Dharba team. No matter how much if I thank MRF Pace Foundation, Senthil sir, Varun sir, it would not be enough. If he hadn't reached this stage to play IPL, it is to their credit. Also, Glenn McGrath gave Prayful a lot of confidence and he went to Brisbane to train with high performance coaches, the proud father said. Senthil Nathan's voice was laced with pride when answering a query on how he charted Prabhu's journey with the Pace Foundation. When he came to us in 2023, he had a back stress problem and we took care of it first. Basically, he has beautiful line and length, but to put that into use, we needed to work on his fitness. Nathan, head of cricket affairs at the foundation, said we needed to identify why that back injury happened and we worked on his bowling technical ways. That's how pressure stopped hitting his back. Then we worked on his bowling areas and it was a 6 month program. We got him fit and ready for the 2023 domestic season. He did well. He recalled. The former Tamil Nadu batter credited Australian legend Glenn McGrath, the director of coaching at the foundation, for assisting Praful with that. McGrath is the best, probably in the world. Lucknow Wadi of RCB Fire Powers. From Bangalore Royal Challengers, Bangalore will rely on their fearsome batting unit to fire again as they look to dismantle an inconsistent Lucknow Super Giants and pull clear of the mid-table long jam in their Indian Premier League match here on Wednesday. Center's new BBMB rules replace a guaranteed right. Lack of transparency in senior advocate designation, please say. If vigilance activities cannot occur, Jatidar says. Rahul says BJP RSS destroying constitution from Raiganj. Bengalis fleeing people tormented in BJP ruled states TMC Abhishek from Kolkata. SIR logical discrepancy being selectively applied, says Mamta from Kolkata. TMC Supremo Mamta Banerjee on Tuesday alleged that logical discrepancy under the SIR exercise is not an officially recognized term under the Election Commission framework and was selectively applied in West Bengal, unlike Bihar, to benefit the BJP. Addressing public rallies at Pingla in Paschim Medinipur, Modi says atmosphere of fear in Paschim Bengal, murders, rapes at peak, major concern among people due to threat of infiltrators from New Delhi. Prime Minister Modi claimed on Tuesday that there is an atmosphere of fear in West Bengal, where incidents of murder, rape, rioting, and political violence have reached their peak. Modi also said the energy, enthusiasm, and zeal towards the Bharatiya Janata Party witnessed among the people of West Bengal are truly remarkable. Virtually interacting with the BJP workers of West Bengal under the Mera Booth Sabse Mazboot program, the Prime Minister said the people of the state had voted the Trinamool Congress to power to free themselves from the atrocities of the previous left front government. But the Mamata Banerjee led party has gone even beyond its predecessor. Modi said he can see fear across West Bengal, where youngsters are worried about jobs. Potato farmers are afraid of the TMC syndicates, and government employees have to approach the court to claim their rightful duties. Rightful dues, there is an atmosphere of fear in Bengal. Murders, rapes, riots, political violence have reached their peak. Everyone is very troubled, the Prime Minister said. He termed the TMC design a cut money government which is causing trouble to the common people. The TMC government has institutionalized corruption. The alleged Modi claimed that there is a major concern among people in West Bengal due to infiltrators. In many areas, in many areas, they have become a threat to the demography. He said, in the last few days, Modi said he had had the opportunity to travel to every part of West Bengal and meet people, and the energy, enthusiasm and zeal that he has witnessed among them towards the BJP are truly remarkable. It is the result of the hard work of all you booth level workers. At every program, I can see your hard work, and all sections of the society are actively participating in every program. This in itself is a very heartening experience, he said. The Prime Minister said the BJP workers' unwavering commitment is deepening. The parties reshape the grassroots with the mantra of Mera Booth Sabse Majboot. You are effectively reaching the people at your booth, conveying the fear of the TMC's ruthless government very well. He said. Modi said the BJP's manifesto for the upcoming West Bengal polls is also receiving a lot of appreciation from the people of the state. Reach out to women extensively and address their small but important concern, he said. Wouldn't allow Babri replica to be built in Bengal. Shah says will resolve Gorkha issue constitutionally, will resolve Gorkha issue constitutionally from Malda. Union Home Minister Amit Shah on Tuesday asserted the BJP will not allow a Babri Masjid replica to be built in West Bengal. Once it assumed office in the state after the assembly election, he even turned Humayun Kabir, the chief of the newly formed Armed Janata Union Party, Ajuz, Azuk, that is taking on both BJP and TMC in the upcoming state polls. An agent of CM Mamata Banerjee Kabir was suspended from TMC in December last year after he proposed building a Babri-like mosque in Beldanga area of Murshidabad district bordering Malda. Shah said Kabir was taking cues from the TMC chief for the proposed construction of his pet project. Mamta Didi and Humayun Kabir should listen to me carefully. This is Bharat, and no man worth his salt can build a Babri Masjid here. Shah said a poll rally at Gazol in Malda district. Humayun Kabir should listen with his ears open when I say BJP wouldn't allow the mosque to be built. Mamata Banerjee and her nephew should also know that their dreams of building that mosque will be shattered on May 5. Shah said at a rally held earlier in the day in Malda's Manichak area. Shah also touched upon the Gorkha issue, saying that if BJP wins, it vows resolve the matter in the Darjeeling Hills in a constitutional manner without dividing the state, addressing a poll rally in Gangarampur in Dakshin Dinajpur district. Shah referred to the BJP's election manifesto to offer a host of North Bengal-centric development projects. I want to tell my Gorkha brothers of Darjeeling that once in office, BJP will not only develop an eco-adventure hub in the hills, but also resolve the Gorkha issue in a constitutional manner without dividing the states. The century-old demand of the Nepali-speaking Indians in the Darjeeling Hills for a separate state of Gorkha land has repeatedly taken violent turns. Vijay promises welfare measures for farmers, MSMEs costs to release manifesto tomorrow, Tirupur, Tamil Nadu. TVK Chief Vijay on Tuesday assured waiver of crop loans for farmers in Tamil Nadu and slammed the DMK comment over the alleged closure of several micro, small and medium enterprises in the state. Addressing a rally, he also said he would release a comprehensive election manifesto for the upcoming assembly polls on April 16, assuring full waiver of crop loan for small farmers, One PEC director sent to 10-day ED custody from New Delhi. One PEC promoter director Vinesh Chandel, arrested here late Monday, was sent to 10 days of ED custody after being produced at midnight before additional sessions judge Patiala House Courts Shefali Bernala Tendon at her residence. The judge gave her order at 3:30 a.m. According to agency sources, Enforcement Directorate Money Trail, in the ongoing investigation in West Bengal call scheme has tracked Hawala transactions allegedly involving Aju department staff slammed him over false promise from Firozpur. Majid Shah slams Punjab over slow wheat procurement from Chandigarh. Preneet hails PM from Patiala. Former MP and senior leader presents Preneet Kaur on Tuesday thanked Prime Minister Narendra Modi for introducing the historic Nari Shakti Bandhan Abhiyan, calling it a transformational step for women's empowerment. In Haryana, traders' body threatened disturbed from Hisar. Trade leaders in Haryana have threatened to grain markets across the state unless the government resolves mounting delays in wheat procurement, lifting, and farmers' payment. The Haryana Pradesh State Board accused authorities of orchestrating a seasonal crisis through unjustified new regulations and systematic technical failures during the peak harvesting period. Wheat procurement farmers plan to protest at DC offices from Batinda. Farmer outfit BKU Ekta Ugrahan has announced protest at Deputy Commissioner offices on April 16, demanding smooth wheat procurement across Punjab amid widespread crop damage. 38-year-old dies after harvester touches flower line in Barnala from Batinda. Day on speaker gives bill copy to Samana protesters, says will go to GUV with all opponents parties to seek GUV not from Patiala. A day after the Punjab Assembly cleared the Jagat Jot Sri Guru Gobind Granth Sahib Sarkar Amendment Bill 2026, Assembly Speaker Secretariat issue sensitive, can't do politics, full cases from Batinda. Dispute over Langar dues leads to firing two injured from Amritsar. Rivals exploited Jarsur OBC quota offences from Hisar. Indian National Local Chief Abhay Singh Chautala on Tuesday accused successive Haryana governments of failing the Jat community on the issue of reservation, claiming both the Congress and BJP have exploited the matter for political gain. Haryana's renal transplant success rate now hits 100%. From Chandigarh, between Feb 2023 and April 2026, the PCMIM's nephrology department completed 34 renal transplants without a single failure, said an official. Haryana state hospitals have delivered nearly 1.9 lakh free dialysis sessions over the past year, as the region's premier medical institute recorded a 100% success rate for its expanded renal transplant program. On Huda Turf, campaigning begins before selections from Rohtak. with the State Election Commission announcing calls to urban local bodies. Political activity has picked up in Sampla town, where the contest for the municipal committee chairman post is gathering pace. Civic polls race hearts up in Haryana. BJP forms panel to identify candidates. News from Chandigarh a day after the announcement of civic poll dates. The Haryana BJP on Tuesday constituted a five-member committee to identify and shortlist candidates for upcoming municipal election. Municipal Corporation of Panchkula, Sonipat and Ambala, Municipal Council of Rewari, and Municipal Committee of Kulana, Sampla and Dharunhira will go. Haryana approval to housing projects for 2,646 beneficiaries from Chandigarh. Past careers, present, shooting, hidden cost of quick success. Across organizations, there is a visible shift in how success is being pursued. Patience, in, patience is thinning, expectations are accelerating, career progress is increasingly being measured by how quickly one moves rather than how deeply one grows. What looks like ambition on the surface is often driven by quarter force. The belief that success should come faster with fewer debtors and less of a grind. It sounds efficient, it feels rewarding, but it may also be creating careers that move quickly yet struggle to stand firmly when it matters most. The new race, speed over substance, today career success is often measured in speed, how quickly you get promoted, how soon you move into bigger roles, and how fast your compensation grows. Social media has amplified this narrative. Daily announcements of rapid career moves and early success stories create an invisible pressure. Growth is no longer about progress, it is about the pace of that progress, and that subtly changes behavior. The shortcut in action, the pattern is now easy to spot. A professional spends a year or two in a role just as the work begins to get complex and learning deepens. Restlessness sets in. The visible learning curve appears to flatten. Recognition may not be immediate. A new opportunity comes along, better title, higher pay, the decision feels logical, they move. In the new role, the initial excitement returns, but soon similar challenges emerge. Ambiguity, complexity, and the need for deeper understanding before they can fully settle in. The search for the next move begins after a few such cycles. Something becomes evident. The roles have changed, the titles have improved. But when faced with real responsibility, confidence is still missing. The issue is not a lack of opportunity, it is the absence of depth. And in most cases, the career plateaus soon while depth is getting lost in the pursuit of fast success. Many professionals are unintentionally optimizing for moment rating rather than mastery. Goals are evaluated too quickly. If learning is not immediately visible, it is assumed to be over. The grind phase, the repetitive, operational, and sometimes unglamorous work where real capability is built is often avoided. Career decisions also become externally driven. Comparisons, market signals, and visual success stories begin to influence choices more than personal readiness. Over time, this creates a fragile career structure. The resume shows progression, but the underlying capability is not keeping pace. The comparison trap. One of the biggest drivers of the shortcut mindset is constant comparison. When you see peers moving faster, it is natural to feel left behind. But what remains unseen is the full context, the learning curve, setbacks, and sometimes even luck. Careers are not identical. They cannot be run on the same timeline. Trying to match someone else's pace often leads to decisions that prioritize speed over substance, and that trade-off shows up later. Playing the long game, this is not about reducing ambition. Wanting to grow and move ahead is natural and necessary. But growth without depth creates pressure. Later, when expectations rise but capability has not fully caught up, a more balanced approach can help. Stay long enough to learn deeply. Prioritize skill building over quick title changes. Be mindful of comparison driven decisions. You can accelerate movement, but you cannot accelerate mastery. And in the long run, it is not speed that defines a career, it is depth. When you are torn between parents' dreams and your own aspirations, to help readers cope with their anxieties in their stressful times, TY's Talk It Out series brings expert counselors to answer your mental health queries. This week's advice is from psychologist Anonymous says, I am Thomas, student from Mumbai, who wanted to pursue psychology since class 9. I tried talking my parents into it, but they were never convinced. They wanted me to pursue UPSC instead and forced me into it despite my strong objection. Then there was a phase when I tried to convince myself that UPSC was the better option and went with it. But now my interest in psychology has become stronger and I am planning to pursue applied psychology as a PG course, for which I am taking up online course lately. However, my family still thinks I am interested in UPSC, hoping that pursuing it will help ease our financial goals. So choosing psychology feels like a betrayal. I have talked to my parents about choosing psychology many times, but it has never worked. So I am forced to play along. They trust me a lot because I am their only daughter. I feel torn between their expectations and my dreams, and I am afraid that my UPSC aspirant factored in running my mental state. I notice how deeply you care about your parents' dreams and how important it is for you to bring them happiness. However, it can feel very difficult if their expectations are in conflict with your own aspirations. Right now, you feel caught between both, especially since you value them greatly. For many parents, seeing their child as an individual with their own identity, opinions, and wisdom can be a difficult journey. Having someone support them in it can make a huge difference. Bringing this up directly with our parents may not have worked in the past, making it feel like the conversation kept getting stuck. It might be helpful to think of a trusted adult who can mediate these discussions. It's important for this person to understand both yours and your parents' perspective, which will help to create a space where everyone can be heard. Therapists or counselors who work with families can help facilitate such conversations with respect and honor. I am from middle class family in Tamil Nadu and completed my graduation in arts after taking a loan. However, I couldn't finish my post graduation due to financial problems. I have been searching for jobs but haven't been able to find a good one. Most of them offer only rupees 12,000 to 20,000 per month. I even worked at a BPO firm, but the salary was not sufficient for the me. I feel trapped because I have to pay EMI every month and I stay far from home. I also have to pay for rent, food, and commute. After all these expenses, I barely manage to save anything. How can I manage my loan and finance? Many people around me are settling abroad, and I was wondering whether I should try that too. How can I increase my income? Please suggest what to do. Aryan says, the weight of your problems comes so clearly from what you have shared. But we now live in a world that offers many possibilities and allows people to turn their skills and knowledge into ways of not just expressing themselves but also supporting themselves financially. What would you say? What would you say are your strengths? What would people who know you well say about what you are good at? How can some of these competencies be used in your journey of building wealth? Additionally, it may also be help to build a community around you, joining groups where people share ideas, experiences, and practical wisdom. Being part of such spaces can offer support, especially when you are away from home and provide a sense of anchoring and amidst storms. I also believe that people are never just passive recipients of problems, but always responding to them in unique ways. What are some resources that you have been using to manage through these difficult times? What has aided you to hold on to hope? Recognizing what helps can allow for a more intentional use of it. One more question, Anonymous. Good. I am a student of class 10. I want to opt for math, physics, chemistry stream in the future and try for admission into the Indian Institutes of Technology. But I am very weak in math and science. Every time I think about that, I feel very stressed and helpless. What should I do? Moments like this, where a decision may influence the next 2 years of your life, can feel both significant and overwhelming. The value you attach to your future is deep and has motivated you to plan it thoughtfully, which is why choosing a path that truly honors your goals is so important to you in times like these. It can be helpful to seek guidance from a supportive teacher or a mentor who not only understand your strength but can also help you think through this decision and guide you in preparing for this field if you choose to pursue it. Career counselors could also help you map out a practical plan to identify the steps that help you move closer to your goals. Additionally, they may also introduce certain career paths that you might not have considered before, but those that now present an opportunity to weave together your interested your interests and skills in meaningful ways. Students' fairs, career meets, and conclaves can also be useful in learning about emerging fields and possibilities and might be more accessible due to virtual webinars and expos. These would help you make a more informed choice about your future. No scope for large aircraft at Kargil Airport. Kargil, April 14. Ladakh Lieutenant Governor Vinay Kumar Saxena on Tuesday said there is currently no scope for operating large aircraft at Kargil Airport due to runway constraints, though smaller planes could be introduced after necessary upgrades subject to commercial viability. Speaking to reporters here before concluding his 4-day tour of the district, Saxena said he inspected the airport located 6 kilometers from the main town and operated by the Indian Air Force following repeated public demand for its operationalization. After holding a detailed discussion with officials, including IAF representatives, I came to know that the runway, measuring about 6,000 feet, is short, narrow, and in a worn-out condition, making it unsuitable for large aircraft operation, even with a possible extension of up to 3,000 feet. Operational challenges would be remain, he said. He added that the landing approach requires a difficult turn for large aircraft, while a mountain ahead poses a challenge during takeoff. Operations are currently visible only from one side, further limiting viability. The Lieutenant Governor said the runway requires complete resurfacing before any civilian operations can begin, outlining a way forward sections at smaller aircraft with 619 or 626 seats could be introduced once the runway is upgraded, but stressed that even this would depend on commercial viability. No private airline will invest unless there is sufficient passenger traffic. Once demand builds up, operations can be scaled accordingly, he said. Clarifying a common perception, he said the airport's non operational status is not due to reluctance on the part of the IAF. The Air Force is ready and civil authorities are also prepared. The main requirement is to ensure commercial viability, he said, describing his Kargil visit as highly successful. The Lieutenant Governor highlighted major initiatives taken by his administration in infrastructure, employment, environmental protection, and rural development. Focus on addressing haves and have nots divide praise, says from Ahmedabad. President Draupadi Murmu visits an exhibition during the Samrasta Mahotsav in Gandhinagar on Tuesday. President Draupadi Murmu on Wednesday appealed to people to move beyond caste divisions and work towards an inclusive society, saying the country must now focus on bridging the gap between the haves and the have-nots. Addressing the Samaji Samrasta Mahotsav on the birth anniversary of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar at Lok Bhavan Governor's House in Gandhinagar, Murmu said, the caste system is a thing of the past and people should now move forward as one society. Those who created the caste system are no longer there. We must move forward together and strengthen social harmony in a way. There are now only two castes, the haves and the have-nots, she said, emphasizing the need to uplift those left behind. Giving a call for unity, Murmu said, no one should think only of their own interest. We are all one, we are brothers and sisters, emphasizing India's cultural unity. He said the country's traditions are rooted in compassion, equality, mutual welfare, and harmony. Rising above all divisions and standing united without discrimination is the true expression of social harmony and present shared. Calling for unity, he said, all the children of Mother India are one. There should be no difference among citizens based on caste, class, language, or region. Mumu also stressed that villages remain central to India's development and social fabric. The soul of the nation resides in its villages. The path to building a harmonious society runs through villages. Despite diversity, there is affection, warmth, and mutual understanding among people in villages, and this reflects the true spirit of Indian culture, she said. If villages prosper, the country will prosper, Mumu stressed. Invoking B.R. Ambedkar, she said his message of harmony was based on liberty, equality, and fraternity. Recalling Ambedkar's message of educate yourselves, the president noted that education is the foundation of both individual and national development. At the very core of education lies the development of the nation and society. Our constitution has made education a fundamental right. It is our responsibility to ensure that people from marginalized sections, whether in villages or cities, get access to education, she said. Along with education, moral values must also be promoted through comprehensive education, especially moral education. The bonds of social harmony become stronger. Mumu said. She stressed the importance of health and clean environment, saying both are essential for the progress of individuals and society. The President noted that efforts are being made to strengthen healthcare services at the village level. She also called on individuals to contribute towards the upliftment of others, sharing a personal message about using one's abilities for the benefit of society. Becoming successful is good, but it becomes meaningful only when you look back and see how many people you can help. You may not be able to change the entire nation, but you must ask yourself what you can do for others, she said, highlighting the role of governments. Momu said support is being provided in sectors such as education, healthcare, and agriculture, but people must actively participate. Joint pain, you may need to get your lungs checked. Management of oral health is integral to arthritis care, say doctors. Dr. Shivangi Sharma, dental consultant, says the good part is that dental treatment is simple, non-invasive, and effective. Given the high prevalence of gum disease in India, routine oral health assessment should be an important part of managing patients with joint pains. Rajesh Verma, name change, was recently diagnosed with early stage rheumatoid arthritis. The 38-year-old marketing professional was surprised when the doctor first checked his gums and informed him he had periodontitis. Once the gum infection was treated, his joint pain and swelling began to ease in weeks. If I see around 20 new patients with joint pain a day, at least half of them have underlying periodontitis, says Dr. Kaushik Bhojana. Dr. Kaushik Bhojani, a rheumatologist in Mumbai who treated Verma, the first thing I do is check the patient's gums. I tell them to treat the gum disease first because many of these patients may not actually need heavy medication even in chronic cases. Once the gum disease is managed, arthritis medication often reduces to half, he explains. In a country where 80 to 85% of the population suffers from periodontal disease, often diagnosed, undiagnosed, doctors are changing track to look at oral health before beginning joint pain treatment. Poor oral hygiene doesn't just affect one's teeth, but could also fuel inflammation that worsens joint symptoms. Rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disorder in which the body's immune system mistakenly attacks its own joints, leading to chronic pain, swelling, and stiffness. Dr. Vijay K. R. Rao, consultant rheumatologist and clinical director, Divisha Arthritis and Medical Center, Bengaluru, points out that untreated periodontitis in a patient with joint pain can be a constant source of bacteria and inflammatory mediators which could enter the bloodstream and sustain systematic inflammation, interference with joint treatment and increasing complication risk. Chronic gum infections are also known to release cytokine signaling proteins that regulate immune response such as TNF alpha and interleukins which play a key role in RA progression. He says besides immunosuppressant drugs prescribed to control joint inflammation could also leave patients more vulnerable to infection. Gum disease is typically marked by bleeding, swelling, foul odor, redness, and a burning sensation sometimes, explains Dr. Shivangi Sharma, dental consultant at Nanavati Max Super Specialty Hospital, Mumbai. The disease link between gums and joints is a bacterium called Porphyromonas lingualis, commonly seen in periodontitis. Again, alter proteins through a process called cellulation, which can trigger the immune system to produce antibodies that eventually attack the joints. Researchers have even detected oral bacteria in the fluid between joint tissues. In simple terms, gum infection may prime the immune system to target joints later on. So dentists say bleeding gums should never be ignored as it's often the first sign of a deeper problem. Several studies have shown that people with severe periodontal disease tend to have more active RA with the higher inflammation levels and poor outcome. In 2025 study published in the journal Rheumatology, European researchers found that treating gum disease in RA patients reduced severity and antibody levels, suggesting that oral health management should be integrated into arthritis care. The good part is that periodontal treatment is simple, non-invasive and effective. Given the high prevalence of gum disease in India, routine oral health assessment should be an important part of managing patients with joint pain, says Dr. Sharma. A 2022 study published in International Journal of Oral Health Dentistry reported that in India, every second person above 35 has a gum problem. When younger patients in their 20s and 30s come with joint pain but no clear structural cause, no injury or significant findings on scale. It raises important clinical questions, says Dr. Vaibhav Bagaria, Director, Orthopedics and Joint Replacement at Sir H.N. Reliance Foundation Hospital. In such cases, I do suspect poor oral hygiene and underlying periodontitis as contributing to chronic inflammation. Many of these patients are completely unaware of the connection and are surprised when we ask about or examine their oral health. Dr. Bagaria maintains that good oral hygiene goes beyond healthy teeth to ensure better oral health, including joints. Simple habits like brushing twice a day, especially before going to sleep, can help prevent gum infections and reduce inflammation, which in turn supports better joint health. He says genital TB, an overlooked cause of low period flow. Ask the doctor. Heavy bleeding during periods lasting more than 5 days has often been associated with fibroid or hormonal issues, but a sudden drop in period flow and duration could also be a red flag for shifting hormone, daily stress load, or other health issues. What is the ideal of period flow? When does a lighter flow become a cause for concern? A normal period typically occurs every 21 to 35 days, lasts for 2 to 7 days, and involves moderate flow. However, what is normal varies with age and individual period patterns. Teenagers may initially have lighter or irregular cycle, while women approaching menopause often notice changes. Not all light periods requires treatment. However, if someone who previously had normal flow suddenly starts experiencing very scanty periods, it deserves medical attention. In clinical practice, persistent low flow can sometimes reflect reduced estrogen levels, a thin endometrial living, or intrauterine causes. Timely intervention helps maintain hormone balance, reproductive health, and future fertility. But medical conditions can lead to sudden shorter, lighter periods, polycystic ovary syndrome, thyroid disorder, premature ovarian insufficiency, and chronic system illness can play a part. In India, an important but often overlooked reason is genital tuberculosis, which can affect the uterine lining and lead to scanty or absent periods, especially in women with fertility concern. Another cause is infections or adhesion, scar tissue after dilation and curettage surgical procedure to remove uterine tissue. Caesarean delivery or medical termination of pregnancy, which can affect the endometrial lining. Early evaluation helps identify such causes and guide treatment. What role do hormonal changes play? Hormones are the main regulators of menstrual flow. Any imbalance in estrogen or progesterone can reduce thickness of the uterine lining, leading to lighter periods. Stress, weight changes, and the transition towards menopause can all contribute. It becomes concerning when lighter periods are accompanied by hair thinning, acne, unexplained weight gain, hot flashes, or missed cycles. In some cases, irregular very light periods may indicate ovulatory dysfunction and should be evaluated early. Do contraceptives affect bleeding patterns? Hormonal contraceptives, whether it's pills, patches, vaginal rings, or hormonal IUDs, often make periods lighter because they intentionally make the uterine lining thinner. With hormonal IUDs, very light or even absent bleeding is common and medically safe. However, persistent heavy bleeding after intercourse, fear, pelvic pain, or foul discharge should not be ignored. Even while using contraception, such symptoms require medical review to rule out underlying issues. How do stress, weight changes, and intense exercise disrupt period flow and duration? The menstrual cycle is highly sensitive to physical and emotional stress, rapid weight loss, excessive exercise, eating disorder, or chronic stress can suppress ovulation and lower estrogen levels, leading to very light or absent periods. While this may seem harmless, prolonged estrogen deficiency can affect bone health and overall hormonal balance. Early correction through lifestyle changes and medical guidance helps prevent long-term reproductive and metabolic consequences. what tests are recommended. A basic evaluation usually included hormonal blood test, thyroid function, procreation, ovarian harmonies, pelvic ultrasound, and assessment of ovulation. Identifying the cause early is important for overall health and where relevant for future fertility planning. What are the treatment possibilities? Treatment depends on the underlying cause. Lifestyle is modification. Lifestyle modifications can restore normal cycles in stress related causes. Stress related cases, thyroid disorders or PCOS may require medication. If the uterine lining is thin, hormonal therapy may help improve endometrial development. In cases of intrauterine adhesions or genital tuberculosis, specific medical or procedural treatment may be needed. What about those trying to get pregnant? In women facing infertility issues along with hormonal disturbances, endoscopy procedures such as hysteroscopy or laparoscopy may be advised to identify and treat the underlying cause. Once corrected, pregnancy may be attempted through natural time intercourse, ovulation induction with intrauterine insemination, or in vitro fertilization, depending on the clinical situation. VFS Global Visa Application Center now in Bhubaneswar, a new gateway to opportunity, connecting Odisha to the world. It is a significant step towards strengthening global connectivity in Eastern India. VFS Global has launched a new state-of-the-art visa application center in Bhubaneswar, the capital of Odisha. More than just a new facility, the center represents a shift in how mobility is accessed, bringing international travel opportunity and connection closer to communities that have historically been underserved. Strategically located in the heart of the city, the Bhubaneswar VAC has been designed to offer a seamless, efficient, and comfortable experience for applicants. With operations launching for multiple countries, the center significantly expands access to global travel for residents across Odisha and neighboring regions. For many applicants, this development marks a meaningful change. Previously, individuals were required to travel to other cities to submit visa applications. The induction of localized services reduces both the time and cost associated with international mobility, opening new pathways for travel, education, business, and cultural exchange. This is now not so simple about conveniencing, it is about enabling participation in an increasingly interconnected world. Mobility as an enabler of growth, the establishment of Bhubaneswar VAC reflects a broader recognition that mobility infrastructure plays a vital role in economic development. As regions like Odisha continue to strengthen their global presence, access to efficient visa services becomes a critical enabler, connecting businesses, students, and travelers to international opportunities. The center was inaugurated in the presence of senior state leadership and representatives from multiple diplomatic missions, underscoring the collaborative effort between governments and partners in advancing secure and accessible mobility. UP is skilling youth in Odisha, driving employment and growth. Honorable Union Minister of Education, Sri Dharmendra Pradhan, heard from left from access to opportunity, the human dimension. Beyond the physical infrastructure of visa services lies a deeper story. one of individuals and communities gaining skills and confidence to engage with their wider world. Drunk nurse creates rukus on a road in Hisar, FIR filed from Ludhiana. A government nurse from Rajasthan has been charged with obstructing public order and driving offense after she allegedly parked her car in the middle of a busy intersection and abused by bystanders in the late hours of Saturday. Illegal arms unit busted in Sirsa. Two held seized items include pistol components and barrels. Officials said the center functioned as a small-scale factory for producing country-made weapons from Hisar. Hisar police on Tuesday claimed to have unearthed an illegal arms manufacturing unit in Sirsa district and arrested two persons. The police also recovered weapons and a large cache of equipment used in making firearms. The action began on April 11 when a CIA team led by Sub-Inspector Vijay Kumar apprehended Sahil, a resident of Khasa Mahajan village during patrol. He was found in possession of a 315 bore pistol and two live cartridges, said the police. During interrogation, Sahil disclosed that he procured the weapons from Raju, a resident of Maikala village in Sirsa. The man held with over 2 kilograms of opium in stolen from Shimla. CM reviews progress of key hydropower project from Shimla. Shimla Health Unit to detect and prevent disease outbreaks from Shimla boarding school in Kinnaur. Minors rape, Jawan bail plea denied from Jammu. Bail denied to ex-DSP caught with terrorist. Search on after JNK man jumps into stream to escape cow vigilance from Srinagar or Jammu. Respect JNK sensitivities. PDP chief Mehbooba Mufti on Tuesday expressed concern on incidents related to cow vigilantism and appealed to the BJP to refrain from actions that could disrupt peace and harmony in Jammu and Kashmir. This is Jammu and Kashmir and its sensitivities must be respected, Mufti said. Monday killing sparks a storm accused in police remand. Victim cremated at native village as CM assures justice from Shimla. UN bodies primarily concerned with human rights. UN Commission on Human Rights or Human Rights Council, the Commission on Human Rights established by Economic and Social Council in February 1946 was the nearest approach to permanent machinery for the supervision of the program of protection of human rights. It was one of the six. It was one of the six functional Commission established by the Economic and Social Council. Under its terms of reference, the Commission was directed to prepare recommendations and reports on an international bill of human rights, international conventions or declarations on civil liberties, the status of women, freedom of information, and similar other matters, the protection of minorities, the prevention of discrimination on the basis of race, sex, language, or religion, and other matters concerning human rights. The Commission terms of reference were extensive. Under them, it could deal with any matter concerning human rights. The Commission made studies and recommendations either on its own initiative or at the request of the General Assembly or by the Economic and Social Council. The members of the Commission were elected for 3 years term and meets annually for a period of 5 or 6 weeks. All Commission decisions are made by a majority of the members present and voting. The Commission submits a report on each session to the Economic and Social Council. Originally, the Commission consisted of 18 members. The membership was increased to 21 in 1662, 1962, and in 232 in 1966. Subsequently, the membership was further increased to 43 and then finally to 53. And in May 1982, India was re-elected for a new term of 3 years beginning from January 1, 1983. One-third of the seats on the 53-member commission were open to election every year. On Thursday, 3rd May 2001, four nations compete to fill their three Western vacancies for 3 year terms of the Commission for the first time since the inception of the Commission in 1947. The US had to suffer the mortification of being voted off the UN Human Rights Commission. The US could secure only 29 votes, while France, Austria, and Sweden procured 52, 41, and 32 votes respectively. Other states which were elected to commission were Armenia, Bahrain, Chile, Croatia, Mexico, Pakistan, Sierra Leone, Sudan, Togo, and Uganda. Yet, yet another setback to the US that took place on 20th century 2003 was that Libya was overwhelmingly elected to chair the UN Human Rights Commission. Thus, North Africa, a country ruled by President Muammar Gaddafi, which was under fire for years from human rights activists, would preside at the March 17 April 2003 session of Commission was which meets annually to survey the human rights situation around the world. Even though the US broke with tradition and paused the war for the first time since the Commission was founded in 1947 because the US said that it could not reward Libya's terrible conduct. Yet the Libyan candidate diplomat and former journalist Nazat al-Hajjaj won 33 votes in a secret ballot of the 53-country commission, with 17 states abstaining and they voting no, including the US. In order to assist in its work, the commission has established a number of subsidiary bodies such as the Subcommission on Prevention of Discrimination and Protection of Minorities, the Ad hoc Committee on Video Reports, the Ad hoc Working Group of Experts on Human Rights in Southern Africa, and other working groups charged with particular tasks. The Commission, as per its reference made studies, prepares recommendations and drafts international instruments concerning human rights. It also undertook special tasks assigned to it by the General Assembly on the Economic and Social Council, including the investigation of allegations concerning violation of human rights and the handling of communications relating to such violation. It also cooperates closely with all other United Nations bodies having competence in the field of human rights. The Commission received thousands of private complaints. It transmitted them to the governments concerned and asked them to reply and comment thereon. It has played an active role in investigating alleged violence of human rights. The principal function performed by the Commission had been the preparation of the texts of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Convention on the Political Rights of Women, drafts covenants on human rights supplementing the Universal Declaration. It also publishes yearbook on human rights. It held its sessions annually and performs important functions in the field of human rights. The General Assembly decided to replace UN Human Rights Commission by Human Rights Council by its Resolution 60 by 251 of March 2006. UN Commission on Human Rights was often criticized for its system of election. It was not elected by all the members of the General Assembly. Commission on Human Rights replaced by Human Rights Council as noted above wide its resolution 65 to 51 of 15 March 2006. The General Assembly in its 16th plenary session decided to replace the UN Commission of Human Rights by 47-member Human Rights Council, thus marking the new beginning for human rights promotion and protection. The new Human Rights Council will be based on Geneva and will be subsidiary organ of the General Assembly. The General Assembly shall review its status within 5 years. The General Assembly also decided that the Council will assume, review, and where necessary improve and rationalize all mandate, mechanisms, functions, and responsibilities of the Commission on Human Rights in order to maintain a system of special procedure, expert advice, and complaint procedures. The Council shall complete this review within 1 year after the holding of its first session. The General Assembly further decides that the Council shall consist of 47 member states which shall be elected directly and individually by secret ballot by the majority of the members of the General Assembly. The membership shall be based on equitable distribution and seats shall be distributed as follows among regional groups. One is African group 13, Asian group 13, Eastern European group 6, Latin American and Caribbean group 8, Western European and others group 7. The members of the group will serve for a period of 3 years and shall not be eligible for immediate re-election after two consecutive terms. Members of the Council shall be open to all member states of the UN. When electing members of the Council, member states shall take into account the contribution of candidates to the promotion and protection of human rights and their voluntary pledges and commitments made thereto. The General Assembly, by a two-thirds majority of members present and voting, may suspend the rights of membership in the Council of a member of the Council that commits gross and systematic violations of human rights. The General Assembly also decided that the Council shall meet regularly throughout the year and schedule not fewer than 3 sessions per year, including a main session for a total duration of not less than 10 weeks, and shall be able to hold special sessions when needed at the request of a member of the council with the support of one third of the membership of the council. It was also decided by the General Assembly that the methods of work of the council shall be transparent, fair, and impartial, and enable genuine dialogue, be result oriented, allow subsequent follow up discussion to recommendations and their implementation, and also allow for substantive interaction with special procedures and mechanisms. The General Assembly recommended to the Economic and Social Council to request the Commission on Human Rights to conclude its work at its sixth second session and to abolish the Commission on 16 June 2006. The General Assembly decided to elect the new members of the Council. The terms of the membership shall be staggered, and such decisions will be taken for the first election by the drawing of lots, taking into consideration equitable geographical distribution. As per decision of the General Assembly, the elections of the first members of the Council took place on 9 May 2006 and the first meeting of the Council was convened on 19 June 2006. The Human Rights Council concluded its first session at Geneva on 13 June 2006. The session began on 19 June and during the session the Council adopted 8 resolutions, 3 decisions and 2 statements by the President of 29 June 2006. The Council adopted a landmark treaty to prevent and punish the crime of enforced disappearance established to amount to 40,000 cases from 60 countries. The Council also adopted UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and will be forwarded to the General Assembly's September session. The declaration was adopted by a vote of 30 in favor, 12 abstentions, and 2 voted against. According to UN Secretary General Kofi Annan, the Council represents a great new chance for the UN and for humanity to renew the struggle for human rights. This statement was made by Kofi Annan on 19th June 2006 in his address to the first session of the Council. The United States of America remained outside the Council because it did not seek a seat on the Council. President George W. Bush of America took this decision stating that the US would be more effective from the outside. However, he pledged to support the Council financially. A spokesman for UN Secretary General expressed his disappointment over the US step and hoped that the US would reconsider it in 2007. The new Human Rights Council is more representative and democratic than its predecessors. The UN Commission on Human Rights, in electing the Council's first members, the 192 member General Assembly followed a procedure that significantly differed from that of the that often criticized Human Rights Commission, which was abolished on 16 June 2006. Mrs. Laura de Lazar Uruguay was the president of the Human Rights Council from 19 June 2011 to 9 December 2012. She was followed by Mr. Ramagius Poland, who joined as president on 1 January 2014 and remained so up to 31 December 2014. The then president of the Human Rights Council of the UN is Elisabeth Tickfisberger of Austria. He joined as president on 1 January 2020. Current members and their terms are following: term 2022, Libya, Mauritania, Sudan, Namibia, Indonesia, Japan, Marshall Islands, South Korea, Asia Pacific states, Eastern European states, Armenia, Poland, Latin American and Caribbean states, Brazil, Venezuela. Western European and other states, Germany, Netherlands. In 19 to 21, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Eritrea, Somalia, Togo, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Fiji, India, Philippines, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Argentina, Bahamas, Uruguay, Austria, Denmark, Italy. 18 to 21, 18 to 20, Angola, Dr. DR Congo, Nigeria, Senegal, Afghanistan, Nepal, Qatar, Pakistan, Slovakia, Ukraine, Chile, Mexico, Peru, Australia, Spain. Subcommission on Prevention of Discrimination and Protection of Minorities. At its very first session in 1947, the Commission on Human Rights established the Subcommission on Prevention of Discrimination and Protection of Minorities. Its items of reference, which were extended in scope by the Commission of Human Rights in 1949, are to undertake studies, particularly in light of Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and to make recommendations to the Commission on Human Rights concerning the prevention of discrimination of any kind relating to human rights and fundamental freedoms and the protection of racial, national, religious and linguistic minorities, and to perform any other function entrusted to it by the Economic and Social Council or the Commission on Human Rights. The Subcommission on Prevention of Discrimination and Protection of Minorities consists of 26 persons selected by the Commission on Human Rights, normally for 3 years in their capacity as individuals and not as representatives of their respective states. The Subcommission submits a report on each session to the Commission on Human Rights. Commission on the Status of Women. The Commission on the Status of Women is functional commission of the economic and social fields. Two is to make recommendations to the Council on urgent problems requiring immediate attention in the field of women's rights with the object of implementing the principle that men and women shall have equal rights and to develop proposals to give effect to such recommendation. Originally, the Commission on the Status of Women was composed of 15 members. Subsequently, the membership was increased to 21 and then to 32. It meets binary for session of 3 weeks. As in the case of Commission on Human Rights, the Commission on the Status of Women adopts its own resolution and recommends draft resolution and declaration for adoption by the ECOSOC. The Commission submits a report on each session to the Council. The Commission on the Status of Women has done valuable work for promoting the rights of women in political, economics. UN Commissioner for Human Rights. In a landmark decision on 20th December 1993, the General Assembly created the position of UN High Commissioner for Human Rights by passing a resolution. It can be reckoned as a turning point in UN action in human rights. The High Commissioner would be appointed by the Secretary General for a 4-year term subject to the approved by the General Assembly. The High Commissioner will report with a branch office in New York. The High Commissioner's principal location will be in Geneva. While creating the post of High Commissioner of Human Rights, the resolution of the General Assembly specified that for impartial, objective, non-selective performance of the duties, the person to be appointed to this August office must be a person of high moral standing and personal integrity and must possess expertise in the human rights field and an undergoing understanding of diverse cultures under the direction and authority of the Secretary General. The High Commissioner will promote and protect the effective enjoyment by all civil, cultural, economic, political, and social rights, and will play an active role in removing the current obstacles and in meeting the challenges to the full realization of all human rights and will prevent violations throughout the world. Within 2 months after the creation of the post of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, the General Assembly on 14 February 1994 unanimously approved the appointment of Jose Ayala Lasso to the new post, a former foreign minister of Ecuador. He was his country's permanent representative to the UN. Just prior to his appointment, the person holding the post of High Commissioner for Human Rights will cost the UN $1.47 billion in 2 years. His rank will be that of an Under Secretary General of the UN, Mr. Jose Ayala Lasso, assumed the office of High Commissioner for Human Rights on April 5, 1994. The responsibilities of the High Commissioner would include strengthening and streamlining existing human rights mechanisms, engaging in dialogue with all governments to secure respect for all human rights, coordinating human rights promotion and protection activities throughout the UN system, including UN Education and Public Information Program, supervising the Center for Human Rights to promote and protect the effective enjoyment by all of civil, cultural, economic, political, and social rights, to play an active role in removing the current obstacles and in meeting the challenges to the full realization of all human rights, to provide advisory and services, technical and financial assistance in respect of the human rights to states at their request, and to take steps for the enhancement of international cooperation for the promotion and protection of human rights. The priorities of UN High Commissioner on Human Rights were set by the General Assembly and were contained in the medium-term plan 2002 to 2005. The plan followed the 1993 Vienna Declaration and Program of Action, which was developed out of the 1993 World Conference on Human Rights and the Charter of the UN 10 December 1998 and 10 December 2008 was celebrated as 15th and 16th anniversary of the UN Commissioner for Human Rights. Other UN bodies primarily concerned with human rights. In addition to the above UN bodies, there are other UN bodies primarily concerned with human rights, such as Special of 24 on Decolonization Special Committee Against Apartheid Special Committee to investigate Israeli practices affecting human rights of the population of the occupied territories, Committee on the Exercise of the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People, Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, Human Rights Committee, UN High Commissioner for Refugees. This list is simply illustrative and by no means exhaustive. Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted by the General Assembly by a vote of 48 to nil with 8 abstentions. The declaration has been hailed as an historic event of the profound significance and as one of the greatest achievements of the United Nations. The Declaration is the mind from which other conventions are well as national constitution protecting these rights have been and are being derived. As noted above, the Declaration of Human Rights was prepared by the Commission on Human Rights in 1947 and 1948 and was adopted by the General Assembly on December 10th, 1948. When the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted, it was the most eloquent expression of hope by word emerging from the most devastating war in the history of human race. The experience gave the Universal Declaration a momentum that is reflected in the boldness of document destined for a world of peace, where the right to live in peace had become a reality for all. On December 10, 1998, 15th anniversary of Universal Declaration of Human Rights was celebrated all over the world. Preamble of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, one of the main reasons for the inclusion of the provisions concerning human rights in the UN Charter was the bitter experience which the mankind had undergone during the First and Second World Wars, when large-scale violations of human rights were made. That is why the preamble of the United Nations Charter expresses a determination to save succeeding generations from the scars of war, which twice in our lifetime has brought untold sorrow to mankind, and to reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, in the equal rights of men and women. Thus, large-scale violations of human rights during two world wars, especially the Second World War, including the Nazi atrocities, were fresh in the minds of the frames of the UN Charter. This is why one of the first decisions that the General Assembly took was to prepare an international bill of human rights, and for this purpose asked the Economic and Social Council for a study by the Commission of Human Rights. The large-scale violations of human rights, including the Nazi atrocities, were also fresh in the minds of those drafted and adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. These are echoed and reflected in the wordings of the preamble. It was also natural for the framers of the preamble to affirm their faith in fundamental rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, and in the equal rights of men and women, because they considered, and rightly do, it to be the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. It is in this context that we have to see and understand preamble of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is as follows. We had recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of the freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Whereas disregard and contempt for human rights have resulted in barbarous acts which have outraged the conscience of mankind, and the advent of a world in which human beings shall enjoy freedom of speech and belief and freedom from fear, and what has been proclaimed as the highest aspirations of the common people. Whereas it is essential, if man is not to be compelled to have recourse as a last resort to rebel against tyranny and oppression, that human beings should be protected by the rule of law, whereas it is essential to promote the development of friendly relations between nations, whereas the people of the United Nations have in the Charter reaffirmed their faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, and in the equal rights of men and women, and have determined to promote social progress and better standards of life in larger freedom. whereas member states have pledged themselves to achieve, in cooperation with the United Nations, the promotion of universal respect for and observation of human rights and fundamental freedoms, whereas a common understanding of these rights and freedoms is of the greatest importance for the full realization of this pledge. Now, therefore, the General Assembly proclaims this Universal Declaration of Human Rights as a common standard of achievement for all people and of all nations, to the end that every individual and every organ of society, keeping this declaration constantly in mind, shall strive by teaching and education to promote respect of these rights and freedoms, and by progressive measures, national and international, to secure their universal and effective recognition and observance, both among the peoples of member states themselves and among the peoples of territories under their jurisdiction. Scheme of the enumeration of the rights and the rights enumerated in the Declaration. The Universal Declaration consists of a preamble as noted, and Articles 30 covering both civil and political rights and economic, social and cultural rights. The preamble refers to the faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, and the equal rights of men and women, which the peoples of the UN have reaffirmed in the Charter of the UN and their determination to promote social progress and better standards of life with large freedom. It also refers to the pledge taken by the member states to achieve, in cooperation with the United Nations, the promotion of universal respect for the observance of human rights and fundamental freedom. Through the preamble, the General Assembly proclaimed the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as a common standard of achievement for all people and all nations, to the end that every individual and every organ of the society, keeping this declaration constantly in mind, shall strive by teaching and education to promote respect for these rights and freedoms, and by progressive measures, national and international, to secure their universal and effective recognition and observance, both among the peoples of member states themselves and among the peoples of territories under their jurisdiction. The preamble also notes the reasons which impelled the General Assembly to proclaim the Declaration of Human Rights, and also the need for such proclamation. And after having stated this in the preamble, the General Assembly goes on to proclaim the rights, civil and political, as well as economic, social and cultural. It may be noted that the declaration is neither addressed to nations nor to member states, but to every individual. This is in keeping with the words "we, the people of the United Nations," with which the preamble of the UN Charter commences. The rights proclaimed in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights may be classified into General Article 1 and 2, Civil and Political Article 3 and 21, Economic, Social and Cultural Rights Article 22 to 27, concluding Article 28 to 30. General, in general, Article Article 1 of the Universal Declaration provides that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. Article 1 thus proclaims the inherent freedom and equality, dignity, and rights of all human beings. According to Article 2, everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. Furthermore, no distinction shall be made on the basis of the political jurisdictional or international status of the country or territory to which a person belongs, whether it be independent, trust, non-self-governing, or under any other limitation of sovereignty. As noted, a remarkable thing about the Universal Declaration is that it is neither addressed to nations nor member states of the UN, but to every individual. This is evident from Article 1 and 2. Article 29 also deserves mention in this respect: civil and political rights. The civil and political rights enumerated under the Declaration include rights to life, liberty, and security of person, prohibition of slavery and slavery trade, prohibition of torture, cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment, right to be recognized as a person before law, equality before the law, and equal protection of law against any discrimination in violation of the Declaration, right to effective remedy by the competent national tribunals, prohibition of arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile, right to a full equality to a fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal, right to be presumed innocent until proved guilty according to law in public trial, freedom from ex post facto laws, freedom from arbitrary interference with privacy, family, home, correspondence, or attack on honor or reputation, and right to protection by law against such interference, right to freedom of movement and residence within the borders of state, right to leave any country, including his own, and to return to his country, right to seek and enjoy in other countries asylum from prosecution in respect of political crime, right to nationality, freedom from arbitrary deprival of nationality and right to change nationality, right to marry and to found a family and equal rights as to marriage, during marriage and at its dissolution, right to own property and freedom from arbitrary deprival of property, right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion, right to freedom of opinion and expression, right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association, right to take part in the government of his country, right to equal access to public service in his country. Economic, social, cultural rights. Economic, social, and cultural rights are enumerated in Article 21 to 27. They are right to social security and the right to realization of the economic, social, and cultural rights indispensable for his dignity and the free development of his personality. Right to work, free choice of employment, just and favorable conditions of work and protection against unemployment, right to equal pay for equal work, right to just and favorable remuneration, right to form and to join trade unions, right to rest and leisure, right of living adequate for the health and well-being of himself and his family, right of all children to enjoy safe social protection, right to education, right to parents to choose the kind of education for their children, right to participate in cultural life of the community, right to protection of moral and material interests resulting from any scientific, literary, or artistic production of which he is the author. Concluding or miscellaneous articles, articles 28 to 30 may be referred as concluding or miscellaneous article because they do not fit in any way of the above three categories. For example, Article 28 provides that everyone is entitled to a social and international order in which the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration can be fully realized. Besides this, Article 29.1 is an exception because this is the only provision in the whole declaration which speaks of duty. Article 29.1 provides that everyone has duties to the community in which alone the free and full development of his personality is possible. However, Article 29.2 makes it clear that in the exercise of his rights and freedoms, everyone shall be subject only to such limitation as are determined by law solely for the purpose of securing due recognition and respect for the rights and freedoms of others and of meeting the just requirements of morality, public order, and the general welfare in a democratic society. Article 29.3 further provides that these rights and freedoms may in no case be exercised contrary to the purposes and principles of the United Nations. The last article of the Declaration, namely Article 30, incorporates a rule of interpretation or a saving clause of providing that nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as implying for any state, group, or person any right to engage in any activity or to perform any act aimed at the distribution, aimed at the destruction of any of the rights and freedoms set forth herein. Influence of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights or national constitution, municipal laws and court decisions. Universal Declaration of Human Rights has greatly influenced constitutional, municipal law and international conventions. The provisions of the International Universal Declaration of Human Rights have influenced various national constitutions enacted after the adoption of the Universal Declaration. For example, the constitutions of Algeria, Burundi, Cameroon, Chad, Democratic Republic of Congo, Guinea, Guinea, Gabon, Ivory Coast, Madagascar, Mali, Mauritania, Nigeria, Senegal, Togo, Upper Volta when attained independence between 1948 and 1964. The people of these countries solemnly affirm their devotion to the principles and ideals of the Universal Declaration. The principles and ideals of Declaration are also found in municipal law in a number of law and decrees enacted in various countries. The Indian Constitution bears the impact of the Universal Declaration, and this has been recognized by the Supreme Court of India. While referring to the fundamental rights coined in Part 3 of the Constitution Kaswanda Bharti versus the State of Kerala, Sikri CJ of the Supreme Court observed, I am unable to hold that these provisions show that some rights are not natural or inalienable rights. As a matter of fact, India was a party to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and that declaration describes some fundamental rights as inalienable. Even the Soviet Constitution could not escape the influence of the Universal Declaration. Chapter 7 of the draft Soviet Constitution contained the basic rights, freedoms, and duties of the citizens of the USSR. And thus, the political rights and freedom of the Soviet citizens were far more comprehensively formulated in the Constitution. Legal significance of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In the course of the time, the Universal Declaration of Human had assumed legal implication. The declaration has considerably indirect legal effect and is regarded as the General Assembly and by some jurists as a part of the law of the United Nations. It is also regarded as constitutive interpretation of the UN Charter and new rules of customary international law. The International Bill of Human Rights on the recommendation of the Third Committee, the General Assembly unanimously adopted the two international covenants, namely the International Covenant on Civil and Public, Civil and Political Rights and International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights on December 16, 1966, while the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1966 was adopted by 106 votes to nil. The International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights was adopted by 105 votes to nil. The General Assembly also adopted an optional protocol to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1996, votes to with 38 abstentions after 23 years, that is in December 1989, the General Assembly adopted yet another protocol, that is second optional protocol to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights on December 15, 1989. Composition of the International Bill of Human Rights. The International Bill of the Human Rights comprises of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1966, the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights 1966, the Optional Protocol to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1966. The keystone of the two covenants is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was adopted by the General Assembly on 10 December 1948. The covenants generally elaborate on the rights set forth in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948. The Universal Declaration has already been discussed in earlier chapter. Entry into force of the two covenants and the options protocols. The International Bill on Human Rights, a major undertaking which began at the inception of the organization, entered into force on 23rd March 1976. Both the covenants were adopted by the General Assembly on December 16, 1966. They were opened for signature on December 1966. Each of the covenant required 35 ratifications or accessories before coming into force. The optional protocol to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1966 required ratification or accession by 10 states. Its coming into force was also subject to the coming into force of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1966, the Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights 1966, entered into force on January 3, 1976. Thereafter, on 23rd March 1976, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1966, after having received the requisite number of ratifications. The optional protocol to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1966 came into force on March 23, 1976. By the end of 1998, the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights had 140 parties. So far, 172 countries have become parties to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1966. So far, 170 countries have International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1966. So far, 170 countries have become parties to the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights 1966. So far, 173 countries had become parties to the optional protocol to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1966. Besides this, 81 countries have become parties to optional protocol 2 to the Convention on Political and Civil Rights. So far, 770 countries have become parties to the protocol to economic, social and cultural rights. China had also signed the Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. On 28 February 2001, China ratified the Economic Covenant on 27th March 2001. China formally informed the UN that it would abide by the treaty but made it clear that it opted out of a clause allowing workers to form independent trade workers. It may also be noted that the second optional protocol to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights aiming at the abolition of death penalty was adopted on December 15, 1989 as provided by Article 8. Paragraph 1. It was to come into force 3 months from the date of the deposit of the French instrument of ratification or accession. This requirement was fulfilled on July 11, 1991, and therefore the second optional protocol came into force on July 11, 1991. As of July 2013, 77 countries had become parties to the second protocol on death penalty, second protocol to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1966, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1996 comprises of 53 articles divided into 6 parts. For the convenience of study, these articles may be classified into Preamble, General Article 1, 2, 3, 5, Rights in Emergency, Article 4. Substantive Rights, Article 6 to 27. Implementation of Enforcement Machinery, Article 28 to 45. And Protection of Saving Provision, Article 46 to 47. Final or concluding provisions regarding ratification of accession of the Covenant, Amendment, etc. Now, I would like to thank all my brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, students, scholars, teachers, trainers, professors, professionals, officer, official, listener, learner. I thank all my respected doctors and directors. I thank all my honorable minister managers. I thank all my honorable advocates and administrative advisors. I thank the most honorable President Modi ji. Thank you very much. Nice to see all of you. Thank you. Dhanyavad.